So many things have been told already yesterday, so I will go very quick on some things, or many things, I think. And beginning by the monitoring, everybody has already seen this map, and I have it in English. You just see the address if you want to use it. Sorry,
I forget to put to share the screen.
So you already seen this. To study the nesting preferences, we have all the nests destroyed in some areas, and we make standardized monitoring in autumn when the trees have leave their leaves. And we can you can see on this map the nets are in red, and the expected nests what we have in the I don't forget the name in the land. It's in blue, and we saw that velutina is a species who like to nest in urbanized areas. So we can adjust our niche modeling with adding of land cover, which make these maps. I think you already know it. And as we can see, it's almost the distribution you have today. So Vespa velutina has colonized almost all the area it can colonize today. For its impact, it has already said. So we dissect many nests, and we show the most important things. It's one colony can eat in his life almost 100,000 insects, which make around 11 kilograms of insects, which is not nothing. And to know what they eat, we as they did not do with honeybees, we catch nests and we catch hornets in front of nests, and we take them their food. So we can analyze what they eat. I will go quick also because it has already been said. So we have an opportunistic species, which in the urban areas it's mostly honeybees, because we have mostly honeybees on urban areas, and preferentially grouped insects like social insects, honeybees, social wasps. It was shown with bumblebees, but also scavenging flies or pollinators. But as it's an opportunistic insect, as its peak of predation is in October, it has low impact on wasps, because wasps are at the end of their life cycle. And when you catch fly and scavenger, it's mostly common flies. So they can eat many insects, but it's not an impact so important on the wild fauna. But on the honeybees, there is a big problem. We have shown already this. Depending on the number of hornets, how do you say, flying in front of beehives, the activity of the honeybees, of the honey colonies, is decreasing. And we show that we can have a paralysis when we have 12 hornets in front of beehives. And when we analyze the density of hornet nests, the predicted density, the declared colony density, we can have a map of the impact of the hornet in all the territory. We have done this for France. And if we have the maximum density in every place in France, we could have a mortality due to Vespa velutina, which is around 30%, which cost 30 million euros each year. But it was in the worst case scenario. It's not what survived today, and it's sunny if beekeepers are doing nothing to protect their beehives. So usually we are almost near 5 to 10% probably, but it's not. We have to accumulate other data. So since 1 year now, we have beekeepers have proposed a national control plan for velutina. And one of the most important things was the destruction of nests. But what I say to them is we have colleagues from INRA of Orléans. They show that if we destroy the 30% of colony, we do nothing. It's only a reduction of predation in the good case, but most of the time it's nothing. And today in France, we destroyed only 30 to 40% of nests for a cost of 12 million euros each year. For nothing in for the regulation and almost nothing for the protection of the beehives. And the problem is the detection of nests. Today we have only one method, which is the PHF technology. And with this method, if we want to destroy all the nests in France each year, or more than 60%, it will cost 250 million euros each year, which is really excessive, and we have no money for this. So it's not a solution. We also evaluate the spring trapping with ITSAP. For this, we work with a local partner in 3 departments in France. And it was a difficult study because we work with beekeepers, and some beekeepers are not used to follow protocols. So we have less data than we expected, and we only show, which is surprising, a tendency to decrease in the number of nests if we put traps at 200 meters of beehives. It's only a tendency, it's not published, so I think it will be difficult. But the ITSAP recommend to put traps around beehives at 200 meters to test the method with the big precaution that today there is no selective traps. They are best trap today, but they are not ideal traps. So what we recommend most is reduce the impact on an bee colony by using muzzles. I think you know this. It's a mesh you put in front of the beehives. It's only reduce the stress, not the predation. But we show that it helps to maintain an activity of 80% of the colony, although we have 20 hornets in front of the beehives. And we recommend to put electric arcs, and high capacity traps with better baits. And also it's a novelty. I hope it will be accepted by beekeepers. As you see, the density is not the same in every place in French territory and in Europe. And today, the most important things we would recommend to stop the destruction of nests in high density areas, because most of the time beekeepers and collectivities, they paid a large amount of money for almost nothing. There is no impact of predation on their beehives, and for the cost of one destruction of nests, you can buy 1 harp or 10 muzzle. So we say to them it would be better in these areas to stop destruction and to help beekeepers to acquire protective equipment like muzzle traps, better traps, and harps. So now I will talk of, it's good for time. I will talk of Vespa orientalis in France. I'll be quick. So we detected in 2021 on the floor of Ederas, and we go there, we try to tag them, but they are not interested they are most interested in flowers, so we found the nest by seeing, and we found 2 nests that we success to destroy, nests which are very difficult to find. They are in the wall or in the floor. And we ask beekeepers, as we heard that this hornet is a big problem for beekeeping. We ask the beekeepers, they are to monitor the presence on their beehives. And in 2022, we have only again 1 observation on the beehives, and we go there in Marseille. I didn't write it, so it's in Marseille, it's the first ones. And we go there, we destroy the nest, and when we come back, there was 3 other observations, so 4 nests in total. And what we observe at this period is that Vespa Watch seems to hunt like Vespa crabro. So it's not hovering in front of bees, it's going to the apiary, kill a bee. Oh, it's quick, very quick. And so I thought it was not a problem of beekeepers were not the good target to monitor the species, and we asked 2 naturalists to make observation. And this year it was listed as invasive alien species. And so due to naturalists, we have 2 new departments. So now it's, you see, you have hornets everywhere, you know, from Italy and 2 France. And the problem is that we have a low predation on apiaries, we have a low density, so it's very difficult for us to detect the species. And when we make research from data in literature, in collection, naturalist collection, which are not to forget, and with GBIF, we do this map, and we saw that this species is naturally spreading to the north, and which is a big problem because it's listed as an invasive alien species in France, but probably it's only neonative. And we began to work on niche modeling, but the people with whom I do this go away from the museum. So if someone wants to do this with me, we have plenty of data. And the same thing, it's we need help for genetic analysis and determining the impact, because the impression there is nothing on the evaluation of impact of the species on bees, on beekeeping. And we don't know also what it is, what is its prey spectrum. Perhaps it's mostly other insect and honeybees, and the impact on native insects could be important. So thank you. Sorry for the debate.
The observation of data historical is not different in the hives. How differently was the velutina or the tribe? Or in that is the behavior of hunting in the hives, the honeybees, is probably different. Did you observe the hunting and how different is this hunting?
It's like Vespa crabro. He went in an apiary, there is bees, he go to the group of bees, take one and then go away. If there is no bees, he pass away. So I think it's for me, but I don't know the species. It's like Vespa crabro. It's if if the colony have other source of food, you prefer other source of food than honeybee colony, because it's, I think it's big. It's not the better place. It's dangerous. And if there is no other food, they go to apiaries, and they can make a big problem. But I think it's a problem of the availability of food of the prey. It's a supposition, but for me, it will not be a big problem as velutina, because the big problem with velutina is that it's over in front of bees.
Next presentation will be given online by Leza from the University of the Balearic Islands, Spain. She will be talking about the spread of Vespa velutina in Spain, successful control on the Balearic Islands.
So good morning. I start to explain the situation in Spain, and I want to explain our particular case in the Balearic Islands. In the case of Spain, so I am trying to put here. As you can see here, the yellow leg hornet, it has been expanding through the territory, even reaching the southern region of the country. So it is established in the northern regions, Navarra, Basque Country, Galicia, and Cantabria, and in Catalonia. So the first detection was in 2010, and recently is detected in Extremadura, La Rioja, Andalucía, and Valencia. So in Andalusia in 2022, so it's really recently. So what happened in Spain? So in each territory, control work is held by one organization on another, and there is no coordination between them. So the particular case of each place is different. So here, if you want, we can move to the case of the Balearic Islands. Here, the first detection is in 2015. So the Laboratory of the Zoology of the University of the Balearic Islands received a sample from an apiary of a beekeeper located in Sóller. Sóller is here, and in Sóller is a town in the mountain area in the north of the island. There is a port, the port of Sóller, with commercial connections with the Iberian Peninsula and other parts of the continent. So once it was confirmed that it has a species, we moved to the area, and indeed, we saw, here you can see the hornet, we saw hornets breeding on beehives. So then we realized that it was an accidental capture. There was indeed a nest. So here I present you the first field study on the strategy of eradication of the velutina that has been established in the westmost Mediterranean archipelago. It could be an example of a detailed planning. Here you can see all the steps, and execution of an operation of eradication program for the yellow-leg hornet. We report here all the steps we followed since the detection. So the establishment of a multidisciplinary team, and all the methodology in the field and laboratory. More specifically, we investigate the combination of the following methods. So sprint trapping of queens, detection of the presence of adults using traps, use the citizen science data for the detection of the presence, detection of nests using triangulation, or destruction of nests using mechanical methods. So the first step after the confirmation was the establishment of the multidisciplinary working group, and the working group was created in order to coordinate the following aspects. For example, the assessment of risk and impact, determine the extent of the infestation, evaluation of treatment options, communication with stakeholders, including beekeepers, but to the citizenship, decide about whether to eradicate, contain, or do nothing, and detail the planning methods. The working group, as you can see here, was formed by specialists from the administration, technical staff from the government, the environmental agents, the specialist technicians from the Health and Wildlife Management Department of the COFIP, and the University of the Balearic Islands, and we have another group formed with beekeeper and local councils concerned, and beekeepers too. So our main objective was to locate and remove correctly the nest. First of all, we have to detect the hornets. So how we can detect the hornets? We have two different options, two ways. We develop an app, Vespa app, and also we have 24 hours phone numbers available for citizens to call or send a message. So the second method involved is the use of traps. So from October 2015, an intensive service were implemented in the radio of 35 kilometers around the first detection in Sóller. Traps normally were craft-made, following the classical funnel trap design. We confirm the species, and then we track the specimens. We locate and remove the nest, and of course, we analyze all the nest, and based on the data, we conducted investigation along different lines. Next, in the following slides, we will closely examine how we did all of this. So the first part is locate the nest, so we need an adult of the hornet. So when an adult was detected from a public report or a trap, feeding points, as you can see here, I can put all the time. So feeding points with protein attractant, raw fish, were set in the areas in order to identify the direction of these adults took to the nest. So at least 3 flight routes departing from 3 different feeding points were necessary to define the location of the nest by means of triangulation. So binoculars were used to track the adult hornets. So here you can see all the works in order to remove all the nests. So the nests were removed manually during the night. Here you can see this is the port of Sawyer during the night, and here all the technicians trying to remove the nest. So the technicians had to reach the nest, usually by climbing a tree. Then the nest was entirely removed and placed it in a sack. Here you can see it. And after that, if any individual was observed with a domestic spray insecticide was applied. And all the nests were frozen at 20 degrees below zero for at least 48 hours. And a revision of the place after 1 week was made in order to check if the hornets reviled the nest, and if it's the case, remove it. So I previously stated from October 2015, intensive surveys were implemented in a radius of 35 kilometers around the first detection. So the first detection is here, and you can see all the traps put in the field in Sawyer. So the trapping campaigns can be separately into 2 different periods: spring trapping and detection of the presence of adults. And the trapping area was determined by the presence of nests found in the previous campaign. And we put 5-kilometer radius from the outlier nests in order to cover the potentially spreading of the yellow-legged hornets. Regarding to citizen science, here you can see
No, something. There.
You're muted. Let me see if I can find the chat.
Did you press the button by mistake?
How can I do?
Okay, now you listen
Okay,
me.
great.
Okay.
Okay. We doing it or?
You're muted again.
I don't know what happened. Now you listen me?
Yes.
I don't know what happened. Okay, so the first year we found 1 nest. So please confirm that you listen me. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So the first year we only found 1 nest, the second year 9 nests, the third year 20 nests. And what happened then? In 2018, we only find 1 embryo nest and 10 queens in traps. So the next 2 years, we didn't find any nest or hornet, despite having been a lot of working in field. So the team did not stop raising awareness about the specimens Cindy has invading worms. It could be detected again. And after officially declaring the eradication of these species in the islands, so in 2021, we have a new nest found, thanks another time to to citizen science. So this species was detected to citizen report. And what happened? Were there leftover nests from the first entry, or it was a new entry? So the competent administration quickly located the nest and sent it to the university for the analysis. And based on the genetic analysis, we have concluded that it has a new introduction. And we knew that the second introduction is from the mainland Spain, from Catalonia, probably. But the first introduction is from Italy. So that means that all nests detected and removed the first time as a result of the first introduction, and this is the new introduction. And listen, the nest hosted males. So we have faced two scenarios. There was already a reproduction nest, and the species was already dispersing, or they were sterile males. Unfortunately, they were sterile males. So we have here some indicators of the eradication of this species in Mallorca, that we was in the early stage of the invasion. Is confinement to a relatively limited area, the proper planning and activities conducted, and the support from local people. However, it is essential that financial resources for implementing these measures, and it is mandatory to enforce the biosecurity policies. So an eradication plan is not a complete plan without a post-eradication planification. So if you wish to read all the details, you can find them in these two papers. And now, what we are doing now? We implemented an early detection and rapid response trapping network in the entry ports. Here you can see all the trap stations, and a distribution area of plant material, really closely to garden centers. Not only for Vespa velutina, for 20 different species, and 12 trapping stations, or more or less, were placed, and we visited every 2 weeks approximately. And moreover, we are developing invasive, really similar to Vespa, but in this case for 20 different species. And past year, we recently detected the European hornet, Vespa crabro. And for the Balearic Islands, is an exotic species, which despite not being included in these 20 target species of our trapping network, but we found it in a Vespa velutina trap. So the European hornet is naturally present in Eurasia, as you know, but absent in our island. It was detected in a port, once again a port, in this case in the north, but in other, in Alcudia. And based on the precautionary principle, the ministry decided to classify it as a potentially invasive species and start to find the nest. So shortly after implementing it, we reported the new species not previously detected, demonstrating that preventing and eradicating invasive species, the success of these trapping methods. So we have must stay alert, and we have to following our work trying to detect these Vespa or Vespa orientalis or all of these Vespid. We study in this working group. So thank you very much. I don't know if you have any questions.
Vespa crabro is a non-native species on the Balearic Islands, but how have you judged it is invasive?
Yeah, we don't know that it is invasive, so we explain to the ministry, the competent authority, in order to work with this species, and they say that for the precautionary principle, we have to stay alert and we have to find the nest. So we don't decide it. The authority decide that this species could be an invasive species.
Okay, thank you very much, Leza. Our next speaker is Federico Cappa from the University of Florence, Italy, and he will be talking an update on the current status of invasive hornets in Italy.
Okay, so here we have in Italy the 3 species of the genus Vespa, and this situation is quite interesting because 2 of them are native in some part of Italy, but neonative or invasive alien in other regions. In particular, the European hornet is native to the Italian peninsula and the island of Sicily, but it's alien in Sardinia. And I think Jorge is going to give us an update on the situation because they have been monitoring the presence of Vespa bravo and also the behavior of the European hornet in Sardinia. The first, it was reported during the 19th century, the 20th century, but the first specimens were collected in the northern part of Sardinia in 2010. And the Oriental hornet maybe is the most interesting of the 3 species since it is native in the Tyrrhenian seaside, the Tyrrhenian coast in the southern part of Italy, especially Campania, Calabria, and Sicily. It has become neonative, so probably we have this expansion of the range of the species, probably due to urbanization, climate change, changing environmental conditions. So it has become neonative in Latium and in Tuscany, and probably also Liguria. But it is also alien in Sardinia and in Friuli Venezia Giulia. And then, of course, we have the yellow-legged hornet, which is alien all over the place in Italy. And this is the distribution from this paper, which was published this year from the colleagues from Turin, of the 3 species in Europe. And I will go a bit more into details on the distribution, especially of Vespa velutina and Vespa orientalis in the different regions of Italy. And so this is the situation. As you can see, we have like the velutina is confined in the northern part of Italy. And while Vespa orientalis is distributed, as I said, on the coastline of the Tyrrhenian regions, and then it has become more and more common in Latium, and we have it in Tuscany, and then it is alien in Sardinia, in Cagliari, and in Friuli Venezia Giulia. And as regards the arrival of the yellow-legged hornet and the spread in Italy, the first record was from the colleagues that were conducting a surveillance campaign between Liguria and Piedmont from the University of Turin, and they found the first male in 2012. He came from France. Then in the following year, we had the first nests that were found in Liguria and Piedmont in 2013. In 2016, we found a positive apiary in Veneto, but the species was not established at the time in Veneto. Between 2017 and 2023, we had the arrival in Western Liguria and Tuscany, and unfortunately, the species has become established here in Tuscany. In 2021, we had the first record between Lombardy and Emilia-Romagna. In 2022, the first positive apiary in Emilia-Romagna and Veneto, and 2023, the first nest in Emilia-Romagna and Veneto, and I will go into a bit more detail in a few slides. So as regards Liguria and Piedmont, they were the first regions that were invaded by the Asian hornet, so the Vespa velutina, and the project Live Stop Vespa was carried out by the colleagues from the University of Turin between 2015 and 2019. And the project has the merit to have located and destroyed in these 5 years more than 2,200 nests. It has established a surveillance network of more than 1,700 monitoring stations. And it has also the merit to have developed the harmonic radar to detect the nest of the yellow-legged hornet. But unfortunately, probably the destruction of this nest has delayed the spread of Vespa velutina in Italy. But unfortunately, as you can see, we have lots and lots of records between Liguria and Tuscany, apart from the ones that we have in Western Liguria. So now in Liguria, the management of the species is carried out by this institution, which is Parco delle Alpi Liguri, which has invested lots of funding from 2019 this year, and they have destroyed around 2,300 nests of Vespa velutina during this year, and these are the distributions of the nests that were destroyed by the Parco in these 4 years. And in Piedmont, the situation is quite strange, because even if the regions on the boundary of Liguria, we have very few nests that were reported over the years in Piedmont. So this is a very strange situation. I don't know, it's because of some geographic or environmental conditions, but it looks like the species is spreading alongside the coast rather than in the mainland. And so as regards the situation in Tuscany, so in the region we're at the moment, we had the first report, it was in 2017. This apiary that was positive to Vespa velutina in Strettoia. And we also had the first reports of adults in apiaries at the boundary between Eastern Liguria and Tuscany. And in this case, the nest was not found, so only individual in the apiaries. But starting from this point, velutina has established in Italy. And how's the situation has progressed in Italy? As you can see, year after year, from 2018 to 2020, we had an increase in the number of sightings of adult individuals and also nests that were signaled in Tuscany, and the situation got worse last year, and of course this year is getting even worse. And we had around 150 nests of Vespa velutina that were detected and destroyed between the two regions last year. And Stefano has just told me that this year we have more than 200 nests that were destroyed so far between Tuscany and Liguria. And if you think that most of these nests last year were reported between the end of October and December, when you have not foliage cover the trees, is it likely that Stefano told me that is it estimated we could have 500 nests between Tuscany and Liguria this year? So this maybe a prediction. And as regards the other regions where velutina is present or maybe is establishing, we have Veneto. As I said, the first individual was detected in Bergantino in an apiary in 2016 during the summer. Then the following spring, another adult individual was found in a trap in Lombardy at the boundary with Veneto, but it seems that the population was not established at the time. Then we had finding of Vespa velutina between Lombardy and Emilia-Romagna in 2021, so 2 years ago. And then another sighting last year in Emilia-Romagna and also in Veneto. I think that colleagues from EZS are going to give us a bit more detail about this presence. And it looks like the species has established in the two regions of Emilia-Romagna and Veneto. Since this year, we found the first nest of Vespa velutina in these two regions. And as regards Vespa orientalis, or the oriental hornet, as I said, is native on the southern part of Italy, but is heading north. And in particular, we had an increase in the number of reportings of the positive apiaries to the presence of the oriental hornet in the southern part of Italy over the years. And then the population of Vespa orientalis has established in 2018 in Friuli, in the city of Trieste, because it looks like orientalis like the urban islands, so the urban environments. Then the species was reported in Tuscany in 2020 in the city of Grosseto, in the city center. And in 2021 was signaled in Cagliari, so it arrived in Sardinia, where of course is alien as in Trieste, while here it can be considered in Tuscany neonative. And then also in 2021 October, we had the first nest, well, adult individuals, but probably a nest because we had many of them in the city center of Florence. And we found that the first apiary is positive to the Vespa orientalis and also the first nest in Florence last year. And this year we found the first apiary in the province of Lucca that was positive to both Vespa orientalis and Vespa velutina. And to conclude, we have this monitoring network, surveillance network, which is Stop Velutina. Probably most of you know the site. It was created in 2016 from together with the colleagues from CREA and University of Pisa, University of Florence, of course. And it is an outreach platform, not just to collect the records of the hornets in Italy, but also providing information about the trapping techniques or sharing the news about the presence of the hornets in Italy. And we have received more than 7,500 reports in the last 6 years, and more than 1,100 reports only this year. And to conclude, at the moment, we have this project which has just started in Tuscany. The region Tuscany has given us around 100,000 euros to monitor and control the presence of Vespa velutina in the region. And the activities are carried out by University of Florence, University of Pisa, and the beekeepers associations we are active in the region. And the main goals of the project are to create a surveillance network to monitor the spread of the species in Tuscany. And of course, training of beekeepers, pest control specialists, and also citizens to recognize the presence of the hornets, the different species of hornets, and how to correctly destroy the nest, detect and destroy the nest in the region. And also the funds should cover for the expenses for the equipment, like radio telemetry or the equipment that we use to destroy the nest. And also the squads are supposed to be destroying the nest. And with that, I would like to thank all the colleagues from the different research institutions and all the beekeepers which are like on the front line in the fight against Vespa velutina and Vespa orientalis. And I hope that I was in time in 10 minutes. Okay, so thank you, everyone.
So now the Vespa orientalis is aliens in Friuli because there is water among jam on the And when the natural front of expansion will reach Friuli, it became neonatic, change the status. It's made a really confusing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know. Yep. You know, Sandra, we were talking about this with Elena yesterday. In fact, I asked her for like some suggestions because I think the situation of the Oriental hornet is very tricky. And also, I mean, if you think about the situation in Tuscany, I said, okay, it should be neonative in Tuscany. But if we think about the arrival of Vespa orientalis, we had like this sudden appearance of the Oriental hornet in the very city center of the city of Grosseto, but there were no positive apiaries in the countryside at the border between Latium and Tuscany, and then a further jump to the city center of Florence. So that is why I think with Vespa Orientale, we must be very cautious also for the management, and also as regards Liguria. We have like the first appearance of Vespa Orientalis in the port of Genova in 2018, and now we have the first nest. So should we consider neonative Vespa Orientalis in Liguria because it's neonative in Tuscany, or is alien in Liguria? It should be considered alien in Friuli. So I think with Vespa Orientalis, we're still like, you know, a bit the situation is very confusing, and we should understand what's how to define the species also for a correct management, and also for, you know, the regulations and policies that Elena was talking about yesterday. That is why I said neonatives, but I'm not 100% sure that is the right definition of Vespa Orientalis. I hope that I somehow answer. I know that it's not very satisfying. The problem is that I don't know at the moment how to correctly define the species. Also because the term neonative, I mean, is a bit debated from like the. Okay.
There's another question.
Okay.
From the people online. From Kennedy.
Okay.
Great talk. Do you believe Vespa velutina can be undetected in some regions of Italy for some years? Is this due to a low activity profile of pioneer nests, or due to a low detection by citizens unaware of Vespa velutina in their region?
Okay, thank you a bit for the question. It may be, but I must say that, for example, the appearance of Vespa velutina in Veneto, then a surveillance network was established also in Veneto to monitor the situation. So, and also I didn't say that in 2016, after the positive apiary, a nest was found, a secondary nest that was abandoned, or maybe it was destroyed. I mean, we don't know if the population was killed. So is it possible that it went undetected? But if we think about the Tuscany situation, once you have the species, usually it becomes more and more common in apiaries. So I think it's very difficult that especially beekeepers, as I said, are on the front line. They didn't detect the presence of the species, but it may be, of course, especially with the very first nest that you can have in a region. Yep. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Federico? Next presentation will be given online by Anabela Nave from Portugal, and she will be talking about the situation of Vespa velutina in Portugal in 2023.
Yes.
Okay, good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to me to stay in this important team, and with very good communications until now, and after my communication also. Well, the situation of Vespa velutina in Portugal, that's the goal of this presentation. And the presentation is have a summary, more or less expressing that timeline. The first detection in Portugal of Vespa velutina, that is an invasive species, it was in 2011. And because beekeepers quickly understand the problem, they are talking about this problem, and it was creating in 2030 an online platform to civil science to put the possible view of nets. In 2015, it was established an action plan for surveillance and control by the competent entity, the government. In 2017, it was established a commission for the implementing of the plan and to make the rules and everything. In particular, the ways and the importance of establish the continuity of the passive surveillance, that is the the next detection in an online platform, and an active surveillance by the surveillance in traps, entomological traps. In 2019, the government established funds, budgets for the next destruction, and to put money in the beekeeping program to give possibilities to beekeepers to fight to this species. And in 2020, it was established the active surveillance network and the active surveillance national online platform. In 2021, there was budgets to the municipalities to develop a project to surveillance and control the species. We have in Portugal, in the continental, 33 intermunicipal municipals, and 16 from this total have projects that are finished by now, and it was very important measure in the country. And the next step is the revision to implement more knowledge and other directions, if there is important the revision of the action plan for the surveillance and control that was established in 2015. Well, this action plan for surveillance and control have different competent entities in different process. Information management, passive surveillance, active surveillance, net destruction, monitoring, training, and dissemination. The most important 5 processes are the surveillance, the control, the training actions, dissemination, and investigation. And different entities are coordinating this process with the big teams involve other entities, very important also. The municipal councils, the beekeeper associations, the National Conservation and Forest Institute, very important also, and the Directorate General of Health, from many others that we see in this diagram. Well, what is the process of the Vespa velutina in Portugal since 2011? In 2011, Vespa velutina was in 2011 the first detection in the north, as we see in this map. And the continuing of the distribution is more or less important after years along the coast near the sea, the Atlantic Sea. This is the information that we are presenting in 16 COLOSS conference in 2020. And now this is the information that are in current date. We have nets and also Vespa velutina, more than in the center, in direction to the south, but we have lower Alentejo and Algarve without Vespa. This is a very good information, and this information came from the citizen observations that put the observation in a platform, and after that the responsibility is from the council, the municipality council, that go to the field, confirm if there is or not a net from Vespa velutina, and go to the strain or to let him in the field if there isn't problem, or if there isn't confirmed the Vespa velutina nets. We can see in this map, in this graphic, that the dynamic of the active surveillance of the nets platform is increased until 2021, more or less. We see the dominant tendency, and the last 2 years, 2022 and until now in 2033, the number of nets are in decreasing, and it's very important, this tendency. And until now, we have in the country 125, more or less, thousand nets during this period. We implement also the active surveillance, and the active surveillance was established by a project, a very important project, Atlantic Positive Project, as Denis Thierry talked yesterday. And this surveillance active plan, it's important because we intend to see in all year the dynamic of the species in all the territory. And we see here the invaded zones, buffer zones, and not invaded zones. And we have the contribution of the surveillance by people that are training to do that, from natural parks, city councils, and beekeeper associations. In the beginning, we have none traps, and last year we have 45 participants entity with 303,500 records, and now at this moment we have more than the double of the records from last year. This is very important because we can make the surveillance in all country, including in the places where there isn't until now Vespa velutina. And the first records of new places became for our surveillance. Is very important that, and we made an alert. And we can also, because we have this process, we can also see that there are differences in the biology of the species, in annual cycle of the species in many regions or in Portugal, because they don't need in many places to pass to hibernation. We see since September until January, workers, founders, and males in activity, and we capture in our traps. And also we can say, because it's a Vespidio workshop, a meeting, that the capture of Vespa crab, that is a native species, was increased in our active surveillance. And until now, absence of Vespa orientalis. This is important information also for all teams, we think. Well, what we have to control the species in the nets, because we know yesterday people talking, and Denis Thierry talking about the problem of the don't have a pheromone to capture and to control. We have only the control in the nets, and in the plan we have three possibilities to do it. Mechanical means, and we have information about what are, and we can use what it is, and we can use the incineration and the conditions to use different of these mechanisms, and the biocide. The biocide is established because we have a Directorate General of Health that put the information in a platform, and we can see in the platform what are the products that are permitted or regulated to use in Portugal, like in other countries in Europe. And if we see in the pesticide properties database, the site is there, more of all the substance that we can use by professionals are in this table. And we see that most of them are the family of pyrethroid. And if we see the family of classify resistance from Iraq, is all the same. It's the same if we change the substance. This is a very problem in what we, if we think about that. And if we see the environment, fate, the ecotoxicology, and the human health, the panorama is not very good also. And it's very important to use this knowledge and to combat the species, but to use them by the better way, because if we see the DL50 to many species and many places in environment, there are a big foot in what we are doing, and we must do with big responsibility. And this is very important to remember each time we do things in environmental. And by control also, we are putting money to help municipalities to fight, but isn't enough. Like yesterday, someone was talking about. And the municipalities have projects and are in progress to implement new strategies, more knowledge and more internship collaboration is very important that, and to improve measures to establish more details to do it better. Since 2050, there was training actions in this plan also, by the coordination of the General Directorate of Food and Veterinary Health. We see here that all the country are now with many with personals with training informants about Vespa velutina, surveillance systems, suspicious of nets, and how to destroy the nets since the north to the south. And last year, because we have money to go to the Portuguese Atlantic Island, there are also training actions, there are also information about more about the species, but until now there isn't Vespa velutina in our Atlantic Island, Açores Archipelago and Madeira Archipelago. Well, we are doing a lot. Not enough, all of us know that, a lot to make better dissemination. We have an action plan, basis for active surveillance, a manual for good practice, and to combat, and information about the biologic and morphologic difference between the species. And in last year, we had a forum, a very important forum to us, an international forum also for Vespa velutina, and all of this information are online. We can also see the communication and know more about that. We have also, INIAV have also a YouTube channel, and we have some videos that we think are very important by the society. Active surveillance, combat methods, biology, combat and precautions in Portuguese, and biology, combat and precautions in English. And this is very important tools to improve knowledge. And coming to the finish of the presentation, the investigation is the one step very important in the plan. And INIAV was in 3 projects, GES Vespa, Positive, and Vigia Vespa. And there are other projects very important also in Portugal, 2 from the beekeeper planning action, Go Vespa and Arma for Vespa, and now there is one very important project also, Control Vespa, in the University of Coimbra, and I think there will be a presentation from this team in this meeting. There are many information that we are interesting and we are doing. We have also scientific articles, and we are in progress in many subjects, in studies, in PhDs, and in other ways to better know. And this dynamic is very important, and I think is the most important to share to now. the future, we have all the same queries, and well, we are here to better know and to improve our knowledge. Thank you very much, and I'm at your disposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Due to time constraints, just one question.
Well, thank you very much for your speech, and I was quite impressed by the high decrease of the presence of nests in the last 3 years. This could be the effect of the control methods, or something else could be could go on with the environment.
Sorry, it's not clear, the question. The nets, in
the last 2 years, you report that the nests are decreasing, isn't it?
The nets?
So this could be, this is the effect of the control methods that we apply, or something else could go on the environment.
Okay, I think both. The climatic conditions are very important, you know, we know that, but also as we are talking during this meeting, the measures, the political measures are very important. I think all the dissemination that we can improve are very important to the knowledge of the citizens, and to be alert of some difference that you can see. The primary nets are very easy to see, because the pests are a very urban pest, and most of us are very sensitive to something that can appear quickly. And I think both the climatic conditions, because the temperature, the humidity, the weather change and are affect the dynamic of the species. But I think the most important is the knowledge of the civilians, of each one of us, that can improve better techniques, better early detection is the more important. And the surveillance, the active surveillance is very important, but because in the new places, the first detection, it was in an insect in the net, in the trap, and after C, the council staying alert and more more alert to implement measures. I think it's the answer to your question, no? Because there are interferences. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anabela.
Thank you also.
Okay, next presentation will be given by Norman Carreck, United Kingdom. Is the Asian hornet now established in the UK?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Morning to everyone here and to those online. So hello, Peter, and hello, Lynn, who are out there in the ether. So I've posed this question here, and I have to say the answer is I don't know. So you can draw your own conclusions at the end of the talk. And the second thing to say is that I'm not personally involved in any of the work that I'm going to be talking about. I am an interested observer. I am a beekeeper, but I also sit on our government's Bee Health Advisory Forum as an independent scientific advisor. So I do actually have an interest in this. So yes, we've heard lots about the yellow-legged Asian hornet. British Isles are, separated from mainland Europe, but Dover to Calais is only about 40 kilometres, so we have been aware that the Asian hornet will get to Britain eventually, and we have had a system of sentinel apiaries at ports and airports for some years looking for various things, not only Asian hornets. But in 2016, we had our first nest of Asian hornets at Tetbury in Gloucestershire, which is not near a port or an airport particularly, so was, I suppose, a bit of a surprise. And this is one of the first nests. And so far, most of the nests in the UK do seem to have been in the tops of trees. And we've heard a lot already about how vital it is that all the authorities who could possibly be involved in this work together closely, and that we all learn from the experience of different countries. So in the UK, we have various organisations involved. So there is an organisation called the National what's it called? National Native Species Secretariat, that's it, yes. And so their responsibility is to look for all invasive species, and the Asian hornet has been on their list for some time. And so they have the responsibility of sifting through photographs which members of the public and beekeepers have been sending in. And of course, most of those photographs are of European hornets, hoverflies, wood wasps, and various other strange things. But they go through those and pick out the ones that look like Asian hornets, and then pass them down to our National Bee Unit, which is an organisation called the Animal and Plant Health Agency. And they have a network of inspectors whose responsibility is primarily to look for foul brood in bees. But they've also got added to their tasks looking for Asian hornets. And there's another organisation called the Food and Environment Research Agency, which does the research part of this. And then we have the British Beekeepers Association, which is an umbrella organisation for the various local and regional beekeeping associations. And Bob here was a trustee of the British Beekeepers Association for a while. And so the BBK has set up Asian hornet action teams in each region, which I think it's fair to say sort of vary in their how well organised they are, but many of them are very well organised, and beekeepers have gone over to Jersey and elsewhere to find out about Asian hornets, and so there are some very well informed and enthusiastic beekeepers around. But here we have a bit of a problem in that the official Animal and Health Plant Agency have so far really not encouraged the involvement of beekeepers, and I think that's something we need to think about. You think, what could possibly go wrong? So, as I say, there have been some sporadic incursions over the last few years, and this is a paper published in 2020 looking at the nests we've had so far, and you can see they've been fairly widely distributed. It did seem to me that there might have been something going on. If you look at numbers 7 and 5 on the south coast there, that's an area called the New Forest, which is a large area of semi-natural vegetation and sandy soils, which is a really good place for European hornets and ideal habitat. But the results from this paper suggest that all the nests found up to 2020 were quite small. There was no sign of new queens or males, and although the individuals collected were related to hornets from mainland Europe, particularly France, there was no evidence that all the samples collected in the UK were directly related to each other. So no evidence in 2020 that the thing was established. And then, of course, we had the COVID pandemic, and there was a huge reduction in the amount of cross-channel traffic, particularly people, and the number of nests went right down. And you can see that in 2022, last year, there was only one nest found. Now, was that a genuine thing, or were people becoming complacent? Things changed very rapidly early this year, though, and we started to get reports in the paper that there were Asian hornets, particularly in Kent. And in July, I was invited over to Ireland to talk to the Irish beekeepers about possible threats to Irish beekeeping, and the Asian hornet was one of the things they wanted me to talk about. And I prepared my slides about a week before I went, and I actually had to update my slide several times during the week as the number of nests increased to 5 by the 28th of July. And things have increased considerably since then. And we got articles like this in The Guardian from my colleague, Dave Gawson from Sussex University, who's a bumblebee expert. And in his opinion, the Asian hornet is likely to become established in the UK. And then we actually started getting reports from beekeepers that Asian hornets were actually damaging their bees. This is the Daily Mail, which isn't the most reliable of newspapers, but nonetheless, this is concerning. So this was the situation in September, and you can see that there were sporadic findings all around the country, but most are concentrated in the southeast of England. So to look a bit more closely, you can see that there have been a lot of findings. So I live just to the west on the south coast there, where it says Brighton and Hove. So they're quite close to where I live, and I have had a bait station out in my garden. And although we've had lots of European hornets this summer, so far none. But the area of concern is over on the southeast of Kent coast, nearest area to mainland Europe, particularly around Folkestone, which is a channel port, and the end of the Channel Tunnel. And reading between the lines, it looks as though there were nests in that area last year that may have been missed. And this is the situation as of a few days ago. We're now at 70 nests and in 55 different places in England. And there may well be more to come. So clearly this is a huge increase on anything we've had before. So this is a statement from our National Bee Unit saying, it says 66 here, so this is out of date already, asking beekeepers to keep their eyes open. And quite tellingly, it says analysis of nests this autumn has confirmed the presence of gynns and drones. So yes, there are queens and males going out there. And so, it is looking suspiciously like this hornet is established in the UK. So will hornets thrive in the UK? Well, I think we were very complacent and we thought, well, first of all, we're in Ireland, so it won't get here. It rains a lot and it's reasonably cold in the winter, but it seems to be surviving in parts of northern Italy where the conditions are not so very different, and the nests are surprisingly weatherproof. And this modelling exercise that was done a few years actually suggests that most of England and Wales are certainly very suitable places for the Asian hornet to live. Maybe not in Scotland, but we need to be concerned. So I shall stop at that point. I don't know the answer to the question. We actually have a Bee Health Advisory Forum meeting tomorrow, when I hope that there will be some more information about, hopefully, the genetics of these new colonies. But it's looking a bit dubious at the moment.
Our next speaker is Bram Cornelissen, pronouncing really badly, Cornelissen, from Wageningen, so University in Netherlands.
Yes.
He will be talking about Vespa velutina edging towards establishment in the Netherlands.
So I'm going to start already, actually. While I was sitting here, I was thinking about the talks and about what people are saying, and I'm actually going to say exactly the same thing as other people are going to say. Because basically what we're doing is we're telling the same story for a different location and a different time point or time frame. And I like that. I think it's important, but at the same time, I think I want to use my time a little bit more and more in terms of the, I guess, in line with the COLOSS spirit, because the COLOSS spirit is really about networking and collaboration. And I think I want to skip some slides. Let's put it that way. I want to go through them quite quick to show you that where the Vespa velutina is in the Netherlands. I'm not going to talk about the monitoring. I have slides on that. I even have an introduction of our group. I'm going to skip that as well. And I'm going to go to the end because I think it's more important to think about what we need to know and what we can do together to get there. So, yeah, so let's see. I'm going to skip everything here. Don't worry, I'm going to start right here. So for the Netherlands, we have from 2011 already a modeling paper. It's in grey literature, which gives some predictions of whether the Vespa velutina can actually become established in the Netherlands or can occur there. And this is actually for a future climate scenario. It says +1 degrees, as you can see. And well, if it's pink colors, if it's red colors, we kind of assume based on this modeling that it can establish, and especially when it's a little bit hotter, it's probably a little bit better for the Vespa velutina. And actually that came true in 2017. From the south, from Belgium, from Flanders, we had an incursion late in the year, October. There was a sighting of hornets, and these were actually found, and the nest was tracked with bee lining. I don't have to explain you anything because that's been done before, so I'm going to skip that. And they used a drone with a thermal camera, which works really nicely in the Netherlands because it gets really cold already in October in general, especially during the evenings and nights. So what I did now is actually take all the data that we have from a public site where all the reports, all the observations are reported, waarneming.nl. You can check this link and you can see all the data. So what is reported there is observations, not specified in any way, but they are confirmed observations. And the nests that I'm showing is nests that have been destroyed, so that really have been found and have been confirmed to be destroyed. And between brackets, you will see when I go on the prediction based on the experts of how many nests remain. So this is the first sighting on the coast in the Netherlands, in Zeeland, the province of Zeeland. So year 1, year 2, we have 4 nests, more observations. Then we have less, and you see it a little bit different distribution, but it's N is 1. And then when we go to 2020, we see more nests, and you can see the brackets appearing. That's the information we get from people doing the work, destroying the nest, that there's actually nests being left behind. 2021, we don't have that many nests destroyed, and we don't really know what's happening in terms of nests staying behind, but you can see the observations of individuals going up. And you can also see that it has a bit of a distribution over the southern provinces there. And 2022, well, that's when we hit the jackpot, I guess. And we had almost 150 nests that were destroyed. And it was assumed that about 30 nests stayed behind. And then we are kind of in this exponential growth, right? So for this year, I used the data up until last week. And you can see that we already have the same number of nests destroyed by now. And there's approximately 600 left. That's what we hear from the people in the field, and especially in the province of Zeeland, where they are really kind of struggling with keeping up with control. So we kind of can't say that in the southern part of the Netherlands it's already there, it's established, even though we try everything. We definitely see that there's volunteers involved, but there's just not enough happening to really get to grips with it. So we're there basically for that part, and you can see that they're also moving up. We had early warning signs. You can see here the numbers for up until May 2023. So it was already clear at that point that we were gonna have quite some nests in the Netherlands. So who are players? I can go through this, but this is basically the same as in other countries. What I really want to point out that the real players in this game are the beekeepers and the volunteers that do the actual work. We have policymakers talking about what is important and what is not, and how much money they can spend on it. But it's actually the volunteers and the beekeepers in the field that are really doing it. So how are they doing that? I will skip this because we're doing the same thing as they're doing on Jersey, and I'm thinking there's going to be more talks on how you do the monitoring. There's definitely a lot of people involved, so the beekeepers do a lot. But what I really want to think about and want to discuss, maybe if I have time left, I'm trying to get there to that point, is discuss bottlenecks and also discuss research opportunities. So the real bottlenecks for the Netherlands is that at the moment we don't have enough volunteers. We have policy making and decision making takes a lot of time, and there's a time lag. The southern provinces are very aware of what's happening, but are struggling to get the budgets to do something. And the northern provinces in the middle of the country, they are starting up basically, although there are already sightings of nests and everything. And then we have the national policy, which is actually completely lacking at some points, especially when it comes to doing any research. And then there's also the debate on impact and implication of Vespa velutina. And I think that's very, very crucial because some people argue that it's not really a problem. And I think we need solid data actually to support the fact that we think that it's actually a problem. Of course, we all have this scientific knowledge, but we need to use that to make people more aware of this problem. And I think that is actually something that COLOSS can do. We did that with the small hive beetle task force. We wrote a paper on Vespa on a small hive beetle invasion for biological invasions. It was an overview of what things you can do to stop it and what is needed, but also the scientific state of the art. And I think we really need that. We need to, as a group, we need to bring that forward so we can use that all in our different countries to make policymakers aware of what is needed. And maybe in some countries this is not a problem, but for us, funding is really a problem when we do research on this kind of topics. So some research ideas I have and I will explore in the coming year. One of them is this. I think biological control agents, well, has been said before, that could be a way forward in looking for ways to control it. And one of the ways, I have a colleague, Anna van Diepeningen, and she is working on fungi in plant pathology. And she suggests that we can actually improve the pathogenicity of strains of BCA, so biological control agents, like metarhizium, like Bovaria, by actually taking the breeding and the selection to a different level where we focus more on the target that we want to deal with, instead of taking in, going through a whole process of multiplying spores or hives, the growth of the hyphal growth. So I think we want to explore that. So if anyone else is working on that kind of topic, then let me know, because that's the COLOSS spirit, right? We do things together. So let me know. And then the other thing I was thinking about is this picture I discussed yesterday with Sandro a little bit already, where honeybees go. I mean, I'm a honeybee scientist. I'm not a wasp scientist, so I'm very interested in what is happening with the honeybees. And so honeybees go through this cycle where in summer there's a lot of pollen, it decreases towards winter, and when it decreases, that is the trigger for brood to actually stop being reared. And when there's no brood, there's less activity. Bees stop basically using their energy, and they do not age physiologically, which makes them winter bees. So they become long-lived, from short-lived, 6 weeks old, to 6 months old. That's basically what it means. Now, if we add predation, I'm wondering how is that different from this process, because it coincides with the actual process of creating winter bees. So if this paralysis is taking place, what is happening inside the hive? If paralysis occurs where there has no more foraging activity, well, then you just get long-lived bees. So I'm wondering what is happening there. I want to know, and this is one thing I also want to investigate. So I'm curious if somebody wants to work on that as well. So in summary, yeah, I think it is established at this point. Yeah, and like I say, the beekeepers do a lot of work and they do a lot of monitoring and eradication, which is until now what's being done. And we have some institutional restraints to oh shoot, to go forward. So looking at biocontrol and bee health, I think is important. But I made this slide this morning. I'm thinking with my COLOSS brain here. It's like, what can we do? And we need to think about networking. We need to think about research, like I showed. So if people want to join, let me know. There's hardly any room to discuss because I have to take a flight at 3 o'clock. So, approach me if you can in the break. And we need to publish. I really think an opinion paper should be made, and also maybe a policy paper or a combination of that. We need to get the science out there, and we need to make chunks that are really useful for policymakers, that they can really understand what is going on, and we get the message across, because that's what we need to do. So I'm wondering, I have one question, sorry. Who sees a bee and who sees a wasp? Raise your hand if you see a wasp. Ah, that's fine. I was just wondering, because there's so many wasp people, I was wondering if they would see a wasp or a bee, but okay, it's a bee, right? Yeah, it's a dog, actually, bug. Thank you.
We've been working with the university authorities for the last couple of years. The use of biopesticides, especially velutina, on paper wasps. And it takes like 2 weeks for a worker to die after we apply to complete spores, and 3 weeks for a giant to die. And a very low percentage of giants die after application.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure that the use, well, you can, selection environments, but I don't think that I was talking about the need yesterday about the use of biological agents to control. I don't think that would be very easy to do. And also, how are you gonna apply, for example, the spores of the individuals, and also they have lots and lots of possible effects on target pollination insects and other species. So I'm not entirely sure that we think that they're safe because of the ecological origin, and also the mechanism of action may be, delayed, of course, compared to synthetic pesticides and other stuff.
So that's actually the purpose of this scheme, is to actually see if you can optimize, if you can breed for pathogenicity or maybe inoculation time, but not because what happens with the BCAs that are out there in general, they are produced en masse, right? So they have a system where they optimize production, but they do not optimize pathogenicity, and that's the key of this slide. I was very short in trying to explain it, but I think we can improve it there. This is something that we want to explore for plant pathogens, but I think it also we can try it for Vespa velutina. About the application, I completely agree. I haven't figured that out yet, but I thought this was a first step, and I know there's others who are already gone beyond that. But I really want to kind of see where this is going and collaborate. Yeah. Yep. Thanks. Yes. This one. Ah, yeah. Oh, wait. So we are pathogenicity is the key, right? And this could be different traits that we are talking about, but we want to get away, like I explained, we want to get away from these methods where we actually grow the strains or grow the BCAs in cultures, but look at more how it's functioning on the target. Because we've gone away from that, and if we can repeat that, if we can set up some kind of breeding system. I mean, I say it 10 times, you know, try to breed it 10 times maybe on the target, see if select the most pathogenic strains that you find. So try to see if we can increase that pathogenicity so the efficacy goes up. Which traits are exactly involved? It could be inoculation time, it could be I don't know, growth, whatever. We don't know exactly, but we need to kind of, I think it's an opportunity to figure that out if that's an option. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know either. And maybe we find out it doesn't. And then we have to think about application. Can we make it more direct? Can we apply it in such a way that we are not damaging any other insects with it? So I don't know. We're exploring. Like I say, this is a first step. This is a model that we want to use for plant pathogens, and I'm interested to see if it works for entomopathogenic fungi as well. So thank you.
Question from it's a tracker question. Do you think invasion by orientalists would be hampered, slowed down by the velutina presence, or would it compete more with Carabro? And for biochem control, is any risk assessment foreseen alongside screening of BCAs? And why fungal and not root parasites?
That's all good questions. With regard to orientalis, I think I'm not even sure if it would survive in the Netherlands, and maybe someone else has a better picture of that. It's not up there yet. There's not really modeling. I think modeling is ongoing, so we have to check if it's actually able to become established in the Netherlands. Then in terms of parasites, yeah, I think that's an option as well, but it's a whole different system. So for sure, that would be interesting. If I think about it, there's one sighting of Varroa actually on Vespa velutina, right? I read it somewhere. Don't know if that's correct. So who knows? I don't know. Yeah, right. And the other one was BCAs. Sorry. With the lab. There we go.
We can check.
Giving it to the larvae. Well, that would be an option too. I mean, that's
that one.
Applying it in the colony. That's definitely a good risk assessment. At the moment, we are just trying to see if the system works. And do not go beyond that. So, but I think that's definitely important when you, in the end, if you want to apply biocides or BCAs or whatever, it's always needed. So yes, yes. And again, invitation. Please talk to me if any of these topics you think you want to collaborate. Let me know. That's why we are here. So, and I have a plane to catch at 3. So yeah, you have a short time frame.
Coffee break.
Yes.
Next talk before the coffee break is from Jasmijn Hillaert, online from Belgium. Tackling the spread of yellow-legged hornet in Flanders, northern Belgium. Insights from the Vespa Watch citizen science program.
Hello, everyone. I hope you hear me well, and otherwise you can just say it in the chat. I'm from Belgium, and I will talk today about the assessment of the invasion of Vespa velutina in Flanders, which is the northern part of Belgium. So in Flanders, the following response chain has been adapted during the first 5 years of the invasion of Vespa velutina. So we have a monitoring platform, vespawatch.be. And individuals are encouraged to report a possible individual or nests of Vespa velutina on this platform. Afterwards, the report is synchronized with iNaturalist, where the report was validated by the iNaturalist community. Then this data was uploaded again in the database of vespawatch.be. In case of an individual, it was possible that that the sighting was noticed by a volunteer called a Vespa Watcher, and then that person could start a nest detection if he had the possibility to do that. And in case a nest was found, a trained professional was contacted for eradication, and that person could then afterwards report its management action of that nest within the vespawatch.be platform. Now, I will go into detail a bit more about the Vespa Watch platform. It was launched in 2019. So far, the total reports that have been handed in are more than 24,000, and we notice that the total number of participants is over 11,000. Unfortunately, in November 2022, the iNaturalist account was suspended because of the inappropriate reports that we also received from the citizens. And in 2023, we refurbished the website. So here you have an example of how the website looks at this moment. So there is no longer a link with iNaturalist. The database is managed by IACID. So it is an IACID database, which is hidden behind the website of all nests and also the management actions. But in the future, we want to collaborate again with an open data platform, for instance, observations.org. Now, if we look at the trend of the total number of reports of individuals and the total number of reports of nests that we have received since the start of the invasion, we have this graph here on the right. It is showing the number of reports independent of species identity. So overall, including all species that we ever received, we see that participants, citizens, they are highly encouraged to report nests, but they are a little bit discouraged from 2019 until 2021 to report individuals. This is because nests were always managed for free until 2022. So there was a strong motivation to report nests at our platform. But in 2022, we suddenly noticed a high increase in the number of individuals reported. And there are several reasons for this. So this might possibly be due to the intensive media campaigns that have been initiated last year by beekeeping associations. Of course, this is also related to the high number of nests in our region. And it also might be of other reasons such as the nest detection that is linked to reporting of individuals, or a high number of beekeepers that want nests to be found in their surroundings. Now, if we look a little bit more in detail to the ratio of correct reports of individuals, we see that the ratio of correct reports is increasing over time. So people seem to be better capable of recognizing the species with the time that the species is present in our country. So this might reflect the learning outcomes of citizen science, but it might also potentially reflect the effect of increased involvement of more experienced volunteers. And now I will talk a bit more about invasion dynamics of the species. So the species was first observed in 2017, but that nest that was observed in 2017 was already an inactive nest observed early in the year. So the species was already present the year before in 2016. And for the moment in 2022, we noticed that 7% of the region is invaded, and in the eastern part of Flanders, the invasion seems to happen a bit more slowly than at the western part. This might be because of the forests that are present in that region. That might affect the speed of the invasion, or it might also hide the nests so that they are more difficult to find and more difficult to report. Then if you look in detail on the trend in occupancy and nest densities over time, we see that the average nest density so far is quite modest, with 1.4 nests per kilometer square grid cell. But the maximum density is already 7 nests per kilometer square grid cell. And here in 2018, the maximum density is 2 nests per kilometer square. But in that case, I looked it up. It was like primary nests, very close to secondary nests. So that, of course, also counts as 2 nests within the same kilometer square, whereas it is in fact the same colony. So that's something to keep in mind when you look at these numbers. And then this graph, this shows the comparison between the total number of nests per municipality during the first years of the invasion compared to the total number of nests reported during the 3 last years. And during the first years, the total number didn't exceed 10, whereas during the last 3 years, the total number might already exceed 60 nests per city or municipality. So there is a high increase in the number of nests reported. We are also we're interested in where the nests are observed and reported, and especially the link with urbanization. So do we observe more nests in rural, suburban, or urban areas? And interestingly, more nests seem to be reported in suburban and urban areas, but we are not confident whether this is really linked to the occurrence of the species or whether this is just an observer reporting bias. This is then in detail the number of nests that were reported over time. And as you can see, there is a strong increase from 14 nests in 2018 until 1,500 nests in 2022. Almost all of the reported nests are successfully managed during the first years. And since 2022, control cannot follow population development anymore. And you see that there is always a small number of nests that is not treated, and that reflects the number of inactive nests that are reported. So when a nest is reported as, but it is inactive, then it will not be managed anymore. So since the start of the invasion, there are many strategies applied to find nests. Of course, I think everyone is familiar with the wick bait station method and with triangulation and beelining. And I will not go into detail into this, but this is the method that was most often applied by the Vespa Watchers. And besides that, we also support these volunteers by providing a heat map of activity of the species in Flanders, and it is hosted online. During one of the previous COLOSS meetings, I discussed this map in detail, so I will not do this today. But if you have questions, you can always contact me. There is also a second app, which is hosted by one of the volunteers of Vespa Watch. He is a very motivated beekeeper, and this app is allowing volunteers to register wick baits where they have been put in the surroundings, and also volunteers can register flight times and flight directions, and volunteers can as such cooperate within the region and see where there are other volunteers active looking for nests, and that's how they find each other. The data that was collected by this app was analyzed by a master student of mine last year, and she found that there is, for instance, a very interesting link between foraging speed and also level of urbanization. So the average foraging speed is a bit higher in rural areas compared to suburban and urban areas, and it is something to take in account when you apply the 100-meter rule per 1 minute flight time if you perform nest searches by base stations. And if you are more interested about the results of this thesis, you can look it up and contact her. Now I will shortly compare the management situation between the first years of the invasions and the current year. So until 2022, 2021 until 2022, management was performed intensively area-wide over Flanders, and almost all reported nests were successfully managed. But there are probably also a high percentage of nests that was not found. So based on the heat map of activity, we could also check the activity of individual hornets and then see where there was activity but no nests found in the surrounding. And that's how we estimated that in 2020, there are at least 40% of the nests that are not found. But this number shifts between years. But in 2020, this was estimated to be at least 40%. And currently in 2023, there is the funding is no longer proportionate to the number of nests. There is a very complex patchwork of managed and unmanaged areas in Flanders. It's very challenging for us to communicate this in a clear way to the citizens because it's very complex. There is some funding, but at level of provinces and municipalities. There is at this moment not yet a management regulation in action. This remains to be adopted. And unfortunately, since this year, it's very challenging to monitor nests and also their management. So until 2022, because management's actions were regulated at the level of Flanders, we had a clear overview of which nests were managed and which not. But this is a very large challenge this season. One of the positive news is that there is a coordinator for Vespa assigned since this year, and she is having an overview of nest destructions in case there is some funding available in the local by the local government. So the conclusions are the following. Flanders is being further invaded. Management has unfortunately become a patchwork, and we will continue research on the species. It will focus on the sensitive natural areas that we need to prioritize in order to focus control efforts. We will also continue to perform research on the impacts of the species in the region, and we aim to perform dynamic modeling to inform control. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. I think that there were some questions, but they were already answered by other people. Let's check. Is there any quick questions in the audience? From the audience? No? Let's quickly check. I think they've already answered questions about Belgium. I think. Okay, one question.
Is about what you said, that in the forest, the quantity of nests can be underestimated. I agree. I don't deny that the species is very associated to humans, but I think in forests the quantity of nest is not being properly assessed, or because of the lack of heights, because of the vegetation. We made with Pete Kennedy in 2021, we were improving the tracking method. And in the campus, we found around 10 nests per square kilometer, in 1 square kilometer. And these nests were not detected by the people working around the forest. So it is probably also a good point to study and to understand. Thank you for this presentation.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I could understand most of the question, but the question itself is not really clear to me. Would it be possible to?
She said that probably the nests in the not urban area, like in the forests, are under-detected because they are not really looked for, maybe by people or I don't know, in general, by citizens or beekeepers. And she said that she went with Pete Kennedy and they found 10 nests in 1 square kilometer. They were not being detected, before. So probably we should work on it. Try and detect more nests in the forests.
Yeah, we are aware of the reporting bias, and we are a bit afraid, of course, that is in fact the case, that of the occurrence of the species, that it's probably equally abundant or more in rural areas, but that it's just very hard to locate them.
Yeah. I think somebody is writing something. No. Okay, so I think that we. There's another question. I'm not sure of that. Naturalists typically have a bias towards natural areas with lots of biodiversity. I don't know if you want to answer. Who wants to answer? Nobody wants to answer. Maybe wants just a remark. Okay. I think it's we can further discuss while having the coffee. And thank you very much, Jasmine, for your talk. And see you later.
Hello, I hope you have your energy refueled because we have a quite interesting session now, beginning with Linde Morawetz from AGAS, Austria. The name of her talk is Vespa Velutina and the Fortas, Austrian Situation and Preparation for its Arrival. Please.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back from me as well. The next 10 minutes will be focused on a country where the Vespa Velutina still is not here. I think it's the only talk of a country where we do not have it, and I hope you get some insights in the problems we're facing at the moment. My name is Linde Morawetz. I'm working for the Austrian Agency for Health and Food Safety, an agency concerned with health of human health and human animals and plant health topics. And in that regard, we do have a Department of Agriculture and Bee Protection. So I begin with a slide you know very well, but I zoom in very fast because we are now interested in the Austrian situation. And you see, Austria is in the middle of countries which do have the Vespa Velutina. We are neighboring 7 countries, and out of the 7 countries, we now have 5 countries which have the Vespa Velutina. And this situation changed very drastically in the last 3 months. That's the reason why I'm going into that detail. So the first occurrence in Hungary was mentioned yesterday quite often. It was very shocking for us because it was very, very near to the Austrian border. And then we have the situation in the Czech Republic. and nearly 1 month ago, where they also found the Vespa velutina. Just to give a short overview about how we perceive the Hungarian situation, it was a situation where we saw how good Facebook can work. So there was a Facebook post, I'm sure many of you saw it in different channels, of a beekeeper, and Hungarian beekeeper, who said, we do have a problem, I see Vespa velutina. At that moment, we were not that sure if it's really a correct sighting, because the photos were so different, and we didn't know if the beekeeper collected them from the net or if they were valid. But then it showed very fast that it was an urgent situation, and it was an urgent situation very near to Austria, 20 kilometers to the Austrian border. And also another nest was, another apiary reported as well, Vespa velutina. So we think maybe it's at least 2 nests, but we do not have any confirmation from the Hungarians at the moment for the second location. It was already notified, as you all know. And in the 5th of October, we got the information by Facebook that the nest was removed. Again, we don't have a verification here. And I'm very sad that the Hungarian colleagues didn't manage to come. It would have been very interesting to hear their stories. And then we had the sightings in Czech. In Czech, it was much more or less exciting for us, but it was quite a way away from Austria, around 100 kilometers from the Austrian border, near to the German border. It was in the city of Pilsen. I spoke with the scientists from Czech there, and they confirmed this sighting very, very fast. The nest was detected. It was a big media outreach at the moment. Whole of Czech Republic spoke about Vespa velutina at that moment, and it was officially notified. But what is more interesting for us in Austria in this situation, what happened in Austria from that moment. It's amazing how good beekeeper connected via Facebook. So they connected with us, they connected with the authorities, they connected with the Hungarian authorities, and also forwarded us important emails, gave us information. So we worked together very closely. The downside of this Facebook situation was, and I'm sure it's the same in each country, there was many emotions, and there also were horror stories. I'll come back to the horror story thing later. We then decided to do a short information just to make the public aware that we do have a problem very near to the Austrian border. It simply says Asian hornet is found near Austrian border, and it called for sightings, for suspicious sightings, because it could have spread to Austria. We don't know yet. What we did get were 54 reports, some without photos, but the most with photos. I'm sure you know all the classical animals which are sent in there. We had lots of Vespa crabo. We had a lot of scolia, because scolia was quite frequent this year in the east of Austria, but many people saw that animal for the first time and thought, oh, it has to be special. But we also had the sighting of a mole cricket, which showed us people just sent in things they didn't know and they were frightened of. So I think you know this pattern. Quite interesting was the nest sighting. Oh, thank you. The nest sighting. Because it was such a bad quality and it was near the border, and we were really afraid that maybe it's abandoned primary nest. But with the help of Quentin, we could more or less assure that it was Dolicho vespula. I think it's the same situation in each country, because, and that's the reason why I will go very fast about the next 2 slides. We do have the situation, we have a small country, we have 9 federal states. Each of them are responsible for alien species and for the hornet. Then we have us, which do have a competence in bee health, but we are not responsible. But beekeepers think we are responsible and want us to act. So I'm sure it's a very common situation. Then we have the beekeepers. what we try at the moment, and I think we're really lucky because we do not have it yet, but have a warning from Hungary that we try to start networking now, speaking about the situation when it comes. So bringing in the federal states, our department, the beekeeping organization, but also the ministries concerned with honeybees. And in our case, it's even 3 ministries concerned with them. So that would be interesting, but also universities, agricultural sector, and so on. But then, and that's my last slide, but in my feeling, it's the most important slide is I have the feeling we do not use the COLOSS network yet as we should do it. In our situation, we have many open questions and questions which cannot be answered by reading literature, but only can be answered by discussing with you and getting input. For example, the beekeeper horror stories. I don't want to say, oh, these are horror stories, they're not true. But I also know how fast the net can exaggerate and how fast the net can produce horror stories. So when beekeepers said, I saw that YouTube video where Vespa velutina is invading colonies, I do not know, was it a weak colony? I do not know, is it common? Is it a special situation? And I just said, I don't know. But maybe when I speak with countries we do not the situation, they can give us this situation, the description behind such videos, and we can help, and we can also, I mean, yesterday there was a big discussion about giving beekeepers the ear to hear what beekeepers said. So I don't want to say it's always stupid things to say, but I want to have a possibility to react in the right level. Also, April is breaking down because of hornets. Then beekeepers speak about problems with wine growers, with fruit growers. We do not know, is it the things beekeepers say that happen, or are these things that happen? What happens in other countries? We do have many questions at the moment. Also, I asked them yesterday, what is the best monitoring system for our early stage situation? You can help with that information. And also, what officials do not want to know at the moment, what do we have to think of budget? What does a nest removal cost? So my request or my idea is that we think of networking, of how to share information easily, that not only Austria, but many other countries which are in a similar situation can extract that information, and maybe can do a little bit better than the countries at the beginning. So we really, yesterday it was about 20 years of Vespa velutina, and what we need, what we learned. I think we could share what you all learned and help countries which are invading at the moment. So that was more or less a start for discussion, and I hope for your ideas. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Linda, for the talk. I'm wondering about the last remark. How would you want to do that? What do you see? What would be the output that you would like to get?
I mean, I think it would be nice maybe to have a way of online discussion group, if it be on Slack, on Teams, whatever, where people can post their ideas, other can answer, and everybody can look into it and learn from it. Maybe in the end, the idea of the bee book is always circling. Maybe that could be go into a bee book or bee world article in the next step. But the first step would be really to discuss.
Yeah. For instance, about the costs, I think it would be very easy to get information from countries on what the cost of nest removal is. Right, each country can just, we all like to use contacts and expertise to get this data. So maybe we can also specify which data that we want. That we need in countries that are not completely invaded yet. And maybe work with that, and then we have some data that we can actually follow.
Sounds good, yeah.
Now, Lukas Seehausen from Cavi, Switzerland, recorded his presentation titled Invasion and Management of Vespa velutina in Switzerland.
For the potential distribution of the Asian hornet based on measurement and climate. As you can see here, basically all Europe related to the invasion of the Asian hornet. If you take this data and apply it to Switzerland, which you will see in the next map. And so here you see the potential distribution of the hornet in Switzerland. Basically, the reddish part showing higher potential for establishment, and the yellow one, a little bit lower, but still positive establishment in those areas. So you can see in quite a high content in those big pictures will not be suitable species. And if we look at the maps of the actual cases, you can see that the invasion has been progressing in the last couple of years quite a bit. So here on the upper left, you see the distribution before 2022. You can see there were really just a couple of cases in the Nave and the Jura, one single case in the Ticino. And then during 2022, quite some cases in the distribution of Jura and the Swiss plateau. So basically the northern part of Switzerland quite invaded. And then this year, it's the big map on the right. You can see that in progress, many cases were found, and now we also have next the found in Bern, but some cases in Zurich, and also the big institute. So we can say that in especially in 2023, where the big classes mentioned, it's invasive species and very high densities, actually got so high that we had already some cases in invasions of little lives being completely eaten by the Asian hornet, so an indicator for quite high density. So this year alone, until now, we have more than 17 lists in Switzerland in different regions. This year, we also took the opportunity to update on already existing recommendations for decision makers. They're now available in 3 languages, German, French, and Italian, and outline what is to be done if the case of the Asian hornet is found. So this document is written in a way that is especially relevant to decision makers in Switzerland, those that need to deal with the invasion, but it can also be interesting to read if you just to it. We've also launched this year a notification platform where case of silence in it's a quite easy website. Basically, you click on the map where you found the ancient hornet, and then you can enter data like when you found it, is it a nest, video, the coordinates there, and you can give a couple of details, and this will then be sent to some specialists. You can see how it works. So once submit this site on the website, it will be verified by the specialist. If it's an offer verification house, the national offices will be which then are not to the country responsible people. And then this information should be transferred to the government of regional actors. So then try to find a nested effect on the. But there's quite a structure to it. It has been quite well defined. Really, it's very clear how the information is given to and when, and this turned out to be very efficient. So once we have decided
try to find the nest. And we do this using different methods for first one is triangulation, but just capturing the release of hornets and following the direction of flight. It has been quite a good method to at least understand the general area where the nest might be. You can see in the map on the right. And then they use quite a bit of radio telemetry, the method that Peter Kennedy was developing for the aging hornet. So we basically have this radio trace that is attached to the hornet. Keep them and fly, and follow them in the direction of the pinna to find them. This has been very hard in the process of the years to find them. It's been quite successful with this method and so on. Many is using radio telemetry, and the reason for this is that it's very precise. And once you get the hornet flying, this tag, follow it to the nest. It's so precise that it tells you truly exactly where the nest is in. What was very helpful in research on this here is to work with drones. So we have drones that are equipped with German cameras. Also found like the people that are rescuing animals in fields before the farm is going. And later it's not so much for them, so they're very keen actually to help out constitutionists. And we have been successful in several cases to identify the exact location of nests that we have identified as a general area before using the triangulation or radio telemetry. You can see on the pictures here that actually this suggestion of this development method by Sandro Bertolino with German cameras works quite well. So the nest show up quite well for one with the German camera. However, it really depends on the conditions for success. But in general, it works either the German camera or the video to determine the nest, and in some cases you even have found nests beside the one that you determined before with radio telemetry. So it is really helpful to work with drones and scan the area to see if there are several nests or in order to really pinpoint the nest. So once the nest has been found, of course we try to remove them with as few resources as possible. But at least here in Switzerland, we found quite a environment in these forest areas. It was just not possible to act here with a telescopic perch or with bucket shots. So we have a specialized tree climber that is able to climb to the trees and achieve it. You can see it from these pictures here. Of course, it's very remote. It's a lot of work to do so we can avoid it very well. But it's also to prepare those people in place so that the nests that are problematic can also be removed in those. And once the nest has been treated, try to bring it back to the lab. I say try because some of the nests are just too destructive. So, but if we have the opportunity to bring it back to the lab and count them out, to study the technology of the rest of the team in Switzerland. So we're especially, of course, interested in are there males present already? Is there the possibility that females flew already out and become the future founders of nests? So we would like to know more about in Switzerland. This has been very helpful. As conclusions, we can say in the past 2 years, the invasion picked up quite a bit of pace in Switzerland. So many necessary have now in North Switzerland quite a bit of history. As invasion progresses, it becomes clear that the efficiency of nest farming removal has to be increased to be able to slow the spread of reduce the impact on communities. And so now this is finally laborious, and we would like to find better ways to do it. So in my opinion, it is important to embrace new technologies, strategies, to keep up in the fight against the Asian one. First, we developed many different questions. For example, what is the exact environment? Honeybees, other pollinators. Other questions around checking, hives, and what can we do there, and which methods are really working in God. And the use of alternatives to insecticides is a big issue here in Switzerland, especially when we have nests in forests. It would also be nice to investigate a bit more opportunities for biological control. I think we should take the opportunity to search for non-regulation of protection of bees to be prepared for future invasions. Of course, because this is just one case of invasive species. There's so many that are coming, and so maybe we can learn quite a bit from this case that can be applied later if there are other cases. For example, of invasive hornets and wasps that are coming into Europe. So I thank you again for listening to my talk, and I hope that could give you some insights in how Asian tourists is in Switzerland and how we're dealing with it here. And I wish you a very nice rest of the conference. Thank you.
Okay, so Sandro Bertolino from Torino is going to talk about management of the invasive hornet Vespa Watch in Italy, from surveillance to early warning and control strategies.
So these results are from a live study that was managed by the University of Turin with other institutions. And during the live project, we tried to develop a control strategy, a monitoring strategy, and an early warning system. So the control was based on the recruitment of 2 teams, and then the collaboration with the civil defense and firefighters. And this is the increase of the nests that were destroyed during the years. But I think that the main question is, was the control of Vespa velutina really effective or not? So I can present here some data. The spread rate, that is how the front line of the species increase from 1 year to the next one, decrease during the period of the life project. Different color refers to different years. And the increase in the colonized area slowed down during the project because the area colonized by the species increased by nearly 170% from 2014 and 2016, and only by 35% during the next 2 years. And in 2018, nearly all the nests, 98% of the nests, were inside the area, the range of the previous year. So we can say that during the life project, the spread of the species drastically slowed down. And if we consider a linear increase projecting the range increase of the first year, we can also predict how the range was reduced by the project. So was the control of Vespa velutina effective? Yes, the spread was not stopped, but was drastically reduced. We monitored and collected information of the nest, of course, with the collaboration of beekeepers and citizen science. I will skip this part because it's similar to the previous presentation. I just point that 84% of 1,600 reports were wrong. So there is a huge effort to sort out all the records. And we developed, the Polytechnic developed an harmonic radar that was used to track some nests. In this case, the animals were trapped in an apiary and they were tagged and then followed by a radar that was located in P1. And tracking the animal, it was possible to find 2 nests in 12 hours of works. In other case, you have to move the radar. So in different positions from P1, P2, P3, and so on. And the nest was located at nearly 800 meters from the apiary. And the nest was just as an information was used also to track let's say fly in Mozambique. And what about cost? These are all the costs of the project. The removing 1 nest costed 100 euro, and this was a flat rate. So we decided to pay 100 euro for every nest that was removed. And then you have, of course, to reimburse the gasoline and the insurance. And then we also pay the civil defense for their contribution, between 40 and 60 euro per nest. And then there were 4 full-time staff for at least 6 months to monitor and check all the records and then coordination. And what about the radar? It's really costly. It's really costly. And even if you have the radar, you need 2 trained person, one able to trap the hornets and tag them, and the other working with the radar. So it can be used only in very particular situation. And now, after the life, all the activity passed through to the region, and Federico already presented this data. And these are the nests that were removed by the civil defense that received some money through the park, and nearly 2,700 nests were removed in this year. And from the information provided this morning by Federico, we know that the spread was not stopped anymore. So this is the end of my presentation, but I want to present some point of discussion, because just some point that arrived in my mind during yesterday and today. So there are no presentation on biodiversity, except the presentation of Sandra yesterday and some review of the literature. So it seems that there is no impact on biodiversity, or there is not a great interest to really demonstrate if there is an impact. I'm not really up to date in the literature because I don't work on velutina, particularly I'm working on other alien species, but as far as I know, there are not really strong evidence of any impact on biodiversity. Probably it's time to do a sort of literature review, or even try to assess the species, the Vespid, the alien Vespid with the ACAT system, you know, the environmental impact classification of alien assets that is accepted by UCN as a standard to evaluate the impact of alien species. Many presentations very similar. Maybe it's time for a European vision, because all the presentations of this morning were nearly one similar to the other, just changing the country. So maybe the task force can try to work off a European vision. What really works? Probably mass destruction is too costly, and we need something new. I don't know what, but we need something new. And then just another suggestion that came this morning: neonative alien. It's tricky, especially during a period of climate change. So probably there is Vespa orientalis is a case study, and so there is a need of reflect on these species that can move and will move due to climate change when considered then neonative, native, or alien. So this is, I think, open to discussion. Thank you for your attention.
So we were talking about also in the copy. I think that the three points that you brought up are very important. As regards the impact on the native biodiversity, it's true. There are maybe a couple of papers, the one with Sandra, mission with University of Pisa and also the one about it. But we really don't know anything apart from the barcoding of the diet. How many insects apart from bees that the velutina can eat, can prey on? For example, they say they estimate 11 kilos one single nest. So this potentially a huge impact on biodiversity apart from humanities. I mean, I think the literature is quite scant on this point. And as regards the, as you said, is including the idea when we organized the morning was to ask an update for the different countries, but yet to come up with a unified view would be very important, and also one of the aim of the materials course for respiratory intelligence that is a quite a tricky point, and I think that's thank you.
Yes, I think that there are many papers saying potentially there is an impact, but no evidence. Velutina is sometimes a predator, and so of course they eat and trap and eat insects, but this is not an evidence of any impact on biodiversity. If you look at every way to assess the impact of species, probably Vespa velutina will be classified as low-risk species because there is no evidence. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact. There are no evidence because eating insect, every predator eats a prey. But the problem is this pressure really decrease the population of the native species or no? And I think we miss this form of data. There is a competition with crabro, but this competition, the similar diet, the similar niche, really decrease the population of the native species or no? We need evidence on this. And it's strange because the velutina is on the regulation, and regulation is on biodiversity. We know that it's in the regulation because in UK, the risk assessment was already done, and the European Commission needs some species for the first list, so they accepted nearly all the species that were in the UK risk assessment list. But so it's in the regulation just by chance. But now it's in the regulation, and I think we need to do more research on the impact of biodiversity.
Sure, another species, for example, the plant, because the velutina can feed on several species that the plant depend on. So I think that is something important that we have to put the energy and research more on this. We have, in fact, we have a paper in which we are describing the pollen that is in the body of the hornet or in the digestive content. And in this case, we can see a very large profile of different pollen from the plant that I think is important to know, even to improve maybe some method like maybe trapping, or I think it's important join research that improve this kind of data. There was another question. No?
Oh, here.
Small comment. Small comment.
Just a comment to the biodiversity, maybe if there's a problem that science processes and young also expressing biodiversity. We should build the connect the ecologists and artificial movement.
Another question.
From English, I think we have to say thanks for us for Vespa for the utilization of the permanently used to provide the answer also. And I worked 2 weeks with the products that using the one product. And the question is now, I think that it's very difficult to move the naval but now we have something big product for drones.
Now the radar is at the Polytechnic, so you have to contact the person in the Polytechnics. Yes, it's they were not able to reduce the size of the radar, so you still need a van to move it, and the range is about 500 meters. So if the nest is far away, you have to move the radar in different positions. So it's maybe you need one day to locate a nest. So it's useful in some particular situation. But I think it's not a solution for monitoring the species.
Well, there are some points in the chat. Team A says there is first experimental proof of impact on the way to focus diversity colonies in Portugal. I think this is study I mentioned yesterday. With regard to the biodiversity impacts. Then Pete Kennedy says, I would agree that impacts on biodiversity have been understudied. But I would not agree that this equates to no impact. There are various studies coming out on impacts. There are also papers demonstrating large impacts that aren't necessarily related to predation. Behavioral changes in native species can be as impactful. Tina says, I think a useful venue for collaborative work could be to identify pest-free areas in Europe based on red-listed bees or areas with rare plants that depend on pollination by potentially impacted insects, so that control can be focused there. There is also work showing impact on plant pollination through keeping pollinators away from those, such as the vermiculite as well. So these are comments.
Yes, I agree. I'm not saying that there is no impact, but we don't have strong evidence. And this is 20 years after the species arrive in Europe. If I will go through the literature, probably the evidence are very, very scanty. And I think we need more strong study and well done to demonstrate an impact on biodiversity.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Paula. I'm from University of Coimbra in Portugal, and it's a great honor to be here. Thank you for the opportunity because I'm not a bee specialist and neither a hornet specialist. I used to work with other insects, and as Anabela cited early or in the morning today, I started working with this project last year. Named it Control Vespa, and I will talk a little bit about what is the idea and what we are doing in Coimbra. And the main line of this project is we have two main lines, one about nest detection and another about nest elimination. And about nest detection, we choose two methodologies. And we are working together with two institutions. They are from robotic engineering. So I'm not really a tech person. So if you have some doubts about it, I will try to explain something that I know. But they are these two institutions. They are working more with that. And the idea is to use drones with these two methodologies. The radio telemetry and the multispectral imaging, because the first idea was to use thermal imaging, but we are right now trying to understand more about multispectral imaging because we have a PhD student doing that with the ADAI institution in the University of Coimbra. And the idea with the drone, with the radio telemetry, we already have the drone and we made some tests with the drone to identify the tags, and it was a success. But and we used the protocol from Peter Kennedy to attach the tag to the hornet, and it was everything okay. We are right now trying to test the tag attached with in the Hornet and using the drone, but right now the weather is not really good to do that. But we already tested with the harmonic antenna, and the next steps will be to do this test during with the Hornet and with the drone, and do some autonomous flights to identify the nests. And with the multispectral imaging, we developed a drone that can fly with the camera with a multispectral sensor. And the data, we are right now selecting pictures that can be used to detect the signature radiation emission from the nests. And after that, we are trying to have autonomous nest detection by using learning classifiers and autonomous flights. And that's just an image showing the drone. And we are right now trying to enhance the bibliography with some photos. So the drone is ready. We are doing some tests. We are creating the nest imaging library, and we are right now have to increase the number of active nest images. And we have some challenges with that, because most of the trees in Portugal have a lot of, we cannot see the nest because of the leaves. About the nest elimination, that's what our team, the big team, it's working more. We are doing some, I think in other places is the same, but in Portugal, most of the inactivation is done by pesticide injection. And we right now don't have works about what kind of pesticide or biopesticide is the best, and concentration, and what is the damage that they can cause in the environmental and in other species that can go to the nest. So we are doing some lab tests and we'll do field tests. And this, we did our first test last year with the help of the Eric da Rose team in Nirbe, in Tours. And the field will be with the association that they do the inactivation of the nest in our zone. So the Civil Protection of Coimbra and the Nativa Association, a non-profit association. And the idea is to select, the pesticide selection will be about the toxicity and if it's authorized in Portugal. So right now we are doing lab tests and we are calculating the endpoints of LD90, and we'll do lab tests, actually ecotoxicological tests with the nest after the inactivation, after the pesticide injection. And we will have samples from larvae, pupae, and adults and nest parts, and to see quantification of the pesticide, and the persistence in the environmental. And after that, we'll do validation of our lab results in the field to see, to have some knowledge about the pesticide lethality and the persistence in the nest, and select the most suitable and to be used in nest elimination. The idea is to have a nest elimination manual after that. So right now we are testing 5 pesticides. So by contact, and this 5, there's some biopesticides and some pesticides. And this ones, it's that in the Coimbra zone and in the north of Portugal, they are most used right now. And the thing is that as we don't have works about it, studies about it, the problem is that sometimes, depending on the method, you can put more or less pesticide inside the nest, and most of the nest they don't remove it. So it will be 6 treatment per pesticide, 1 control, 5 concentrations, and we already made the range finding to see the best concentrations to test. And I hope to, in December, I have the results for these five pesticides, and then starting in the field for the next year. Okay, is that the next episode? We have to optimize the application, we have to end the ongoing tests, measure the persistence and the efficacy, and then validation of our lab results. I think that's all. Thank you.
We have time for a couple of questions.
It's not about drones, right?
About the pesticide study.
Okay.
And you thought about including that non-target controls that would use for chemical neutrality.
Okay.
Because I mean,
yeah.
Okay, is it possible that they could be affected towards the? I mean, you know, we would discuss already the topic with from this morning, but you cannot be certain that it's not harmful for all the non-target species.
Yes.
So maybe just the honeybees.
Yes.
Be also potential.
Yes, good question. Actually, those pesticides were already tested on honeybees, so we already have the LD 50 for that. And our lab, it's actually we work with a lot of non-target species as well. So we already have some tests about it. And the thing is that normally we do the test to see if it harms the species. And right now it's the opposite. We are doing the test to kill the species. So, but the thing is that we want to find a concentration that is not so harmful for other and non-target, like not just insects, but mammals and birds as well. And a quantity as well, because the thing is that you can put like 1 liter or 2 liters of pesticides inside, or like 50 milliliters. So yeah, we have some tests about this one.
And how you delivering the pesticide to the insects? I mean, back to the nest or in the field? I don't know.
To the insects or to other insects?
No, nest. Yeah,
In the nest. Okay.
The nest.
Okay.
The individuals in the field.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Right now we are doing tests in the lab with the individuals. So we go there and collect and then do the test in the lab. And the initial idea was to bring the nest to the lab, and this is like crazy. We don't have resources for that. So what we are doing right now is we are collaborating with some people that do the inactivation of the nest. So they put the pesticide, they already use this list of pesticides, and they have to change every year because of resistance. So they are going to the field, and then we can collect samples. And most of the pesticides, some pesticides are not, but most of them are from contact. You're welcome.
We have some comments in the chat. Anabela, I don't know if this comment is for Paula, but we are aware of the impact of non-selective traps and control with biocides. But how can we overcome this without more knowledge that allows changes? This is very good question. The same thing as question: is there any knowledge on secondary intoxication of birds or other? And why are the females, the diatomaceous earth or sulfur dioxide not considered in your study?
I don't understand the second question. Why mammals?
Is there any knowledge on secondary intoxication of birds or other?
No. Actually, we want to do some models to try to see the quantity of pesticide per hornet, and then we can like do some models to see if it can be harmed for other species like birds. What we know is that we can see how many hornets a bird can eat, and usually they eat, and then we can like extrapolate the number. But in the second question, I didn't.
Why are you using the other masses Earth or sulfur dioxide in your study?
Oh, okay. To kill the hornets? Is that the question? Yep. No, I don't know. Right now we are testing the pesticides because actually in Portugal, at least in Portugal, is the most used technique to kill. And we are like, we are trying to see if it's caused some damage or not, and in like a more environmental friendly and more respects, like more useful use of the pesticides, because it's the reality today. It's more about that.
And then the pesticide is also pesticide that use it and then just near water. It is a comment.
Oh, okay.
To that question. And there is
okay.
Anabela, is it improved the sound or it is still very bad? And there is a second question. What is your opinion on Trojan horse using fipronil? Isn't it a very selective way of applying very little product compared to classic powder application?
Yes, this is a really good question. Well, we have some other projects with some beekeepers and with the municipalities from Portugal, especially from the zone of Coimbra in the north of Portugal. And the thing is, people are still doing this and using fipronil. It's a reality. It's a reality. And while we're trying, I don't think that this is a good idea, not just because of the fipronil, but as we are talking about yesterday, this kind of method, it's not like we're not for sure that this can be useful and that the nest will be inactivated by using this kind of methodology. But beekeepers are doing that in Portugal. And we are trying to talk about with some presentations in fairs, in honey fairs, and with along with the municipality to talk about it and to convince them that they don't have to use this. But it's very difficult because they really believe that it can be used. They really believe that it's a good choice. So I don't really believe that is a good choice. There's another type of projects they are doing. I think there's some capsules and with pesticides inside, and I really don't know if it's a good idea, but yeah, I don't believe it's a good idea to do this kind of methodology and using fipronil.
Okay, thank you very much, Paula.
Thank you.
The next presentation, María Shantal Rodríguez.
Chantal is researcher at the University of Vigo in Spain. Her talk is the urgency of the implementation of control methods derived the joint investigation on Vespa Watch.
Okay, thank you a lot for your introduction, Sandra. Okay, so actually, I'm working in the Faculty of Science in Ourense that belong to the University of Vigo. And we are part of this research group. It's a group with a large research line. And our main line is about the study of bee product. So we work in collaboration with the beekeeping sector that are the more affected by Vespa velutina. And this is one of the reasons that we start to study on Vespa velutina since 2017-16 around. So, what is the situation of Vespa velutina in Galicia? The situation is terrible. The number of nests are very large, and the spreading seems unstoppable. Among the factors that can explain this success, there are a very good reproductive capacity, a very good adaptability, and a social and flexible behavior that which one single queen can create a very large colony and many reproductive females. In fact, in one of our studies, we have counted more than 13,000 individuals in average in only one nest. You can see in this table, and also by mechanical quantification, we have estimated 30,000 of individuals. So this is a very large quantity of hornet. In Galicia, we have a surveillance and control program created by our region government, in which the citizens, the population, report the sighting of the nest that are registered. Thanks to this report, we know that this spreading of the spread of Vespa velutina over the time was very quick. In 2017, we had more than 26,000 of nests, most in the coastal area that are the more affected since the beginning, but also in the inland, where we have a higher altitude and a continental climate. So the ability is very, very big. Okay. Actually, we have more than 30,000 nests every year reporting thanks to this program, but is clearly underestimated because depend of the citizens. So it should to be much higher. In fact, some specialists that are related with the removal of this nest talking about more than 100,000 nests every year. So I think it's a quantity, a crazy quantity. What about the impact? Okay, the impact are very well known for us. And in Galicia, we have a negative or impact that are negative environmental and socioeconomic impact. And this impact can affect to several economic sectors, that's already known, in which beekeeping farms are the most affected. The losses are very discouraged. These species can affect also to, or is related with the decline of several populations of species of pollinator. You can see in this slide this picture that is a Vespa velutina hunting in our flora. This picture is made by me, but it's very typical. See, observe Vespa velutina everywhere. There is an increasing problem with the human health also, with terrible death of people that found their nests when they are working in agricultural and forest management practice, like pruning or weeding also. You can see some news about this death of people. Okay, but by far one of the sectors more affected are the beekeeping sector. The pressure in our apiaries are very high and is continue in the time. You can see here this graphic. This is the hours that Vespa velutina can affect in the apiaries. Is continue over the day, especially in the hours more favorable regarding the temperatures. In this case, it is in the middle of the day, but depend on the region. For example, in the areas with higher altitude is a little bit different. Those colonies that are not strong, enough strong or healthy are the most susceptible to die. So we have to take care about the healthiness of our colony. In addition, Vespa velutina can be a risk because can be a bee virus transmission vector. So we have to take account this also and be very strong and healthy our colony. This is one of the best methods in our point of view to fight with Vespa velutina in the hive. Like in another regions, Vespa velutina make that the colonies spend long lockdown periods exhausting their food reserve. So this can cause more stress and weakening. So again, we have to have very healthy our colony and with enough food reserve stored. So it's urgent take actions of control. Scientists around the world are already collaborated and some researchers in the study of its behavior or looking for some effective control method. For example, the project of Atlantic that are people talk about this before. In fact, one of the input of this research is the elaboration of the practical management manual for the beekeepers under pressure of Vespa velutina that are made by our lab and in collaboration with INIAV, Anabela. So these impacts and the rapid spread make urgent implement control methods derived from a joint research. It's very important. So it is necessary to develop maybe an integrated control system using the different control methods that are already being researched. So I want to introduce quickly, because we're talking about this in another presentation, introduce each one of these researchers. The first step, I think, is improve the regulatory systems. In Galicia, we have this program that I said before, but I think we have a very large way to improve this normative or regulations. Nest removal and bait trapping are the most known method, but nest removal is very difficult for the beekeeper, for example, and especially in the forest areas, because are very difficult to find. With respect to bait trapping, still being a not a specific method, I don't really, sorry, and is related with the decline of several species of insect and arachnid, as this paper made by our lab have shown. But to improve this method, bait trapping, there are some methods that can using or trying to using pheromones or another chemical compounds, like, for example, volatile plant compounds from the plant more visited by Vespa velutina as a bait. Okay. This last one is an input from this for the Atlantic Positive project. Okay, regarding chemical control, the losses in Galicia in the bee colonies are substantial. I mean, is something terrible, and the beekeepers are discouraged. So this led them to use some damage or dangerous method like the poison of bait, called Trojan. You can see in these pictures this kind of method, and you can see the quantity of hornet. These are not a colony, a bee colony, it's a hornet colony. So this chemical control is a potential damage because don't reach the intended target, the nest, and can contaminate the honey production or harm another animal like birds. But there are some researchers about to use this kind of chemical control, but only conducted by specialists. It's a proposal of this paper from the Atlantic Positive. Okay, there are some research about the managing the hive, with some focus in the effectiveness of, for example, physical methods in the hive, like electric harp. But other authors emphasize in minimize the damage in the hive by practicing very well practice in the hive. This means enough research, healthy conditions, well, a very good practice. Despite this, beekeepers must relearn how to manage under these new conditions. That is a very high pressure of Vespa velutina. And sometimes this means looking for all the nests that are around of the apiaries. There are some research about how to searching or remove this nest, but are so expensive for the beekeepers or very difficult. So, regarding biological control, there are some research about the natural enemies, okay? For example, European badger or some species of bird, like can't stop or attenuate, the spreading by preying of them, but are, I think there are a lot of gaps in these kinds of research. With respect to the pathogens, the bee virus studies are the most abundant, but we have to take care that bee virus are very difficult to manage, and there are not so many chemical products that can destroy it. So maybe we can focus on another research like fungi or another parasitoid like insect or organic parasitoid. So there are several researchers about different control methods, but there are still many gaps. So maybe an integrated control system will be an effective solution, but I think it must be a result from a joint research. So this is again a call to join energy on research in Vespa velutina. Thanks.
I wanted to know, the study you did with the viruses, did you control corona in that case? I mean, from my point of view, I'm a huge scientist, and I was wondering if you take that into account, because it's such a devastating pest, right? So, and also one of the things I was wondering is, in terms of depletion of resources, were these colonies in any way fed with carbohydrates, such as sugar, water, for example? Because I think pollen is not so much a problem, because they just eat blueberry and become all this.
Oh, sorry, I can't hear the second question. So I'm going to ask the first one, and then yes. Okay, with respect to the virus, we work in collaboration with Pisa, and I start this research looking some control method. But we have to take account that bee viruses are very difficult to manage, and then we are looking for bee virus that maybe we can't make the situation worse. I mean, because I think we have to looking for another not a specific virus for the bees to maybe try with again Vespa velutina. So in this case, I think bee virus is not the best solution for method control. But of course, we have to continue in the study of this emerging risk that can be Vespa velutina, because the kilometers that Vespa velutina can advance and all the ecosystem that can touch are so much. So I think it's a risk, a potential risk. Yeah. And the second one, I can read. All right. Okay. Okay.
So I can leave it for the copy.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
That now Chuleui Jung from Andong National University of Korea with the presentation Vespa velutina, post-invasion pathway and its distribution modeling in Korea.
Hello, good morning there, and this is actually evening. And this is Chuleui Jung from Andong National University. I'm going to talk on the invasion of hornet into Korea and post-invasion and its distribution model. And I believe that most of you are familiar with the Vespa velutina, so that I will kind of quickly move over to the main topic. As you see, in Korea, we have Apis cerana and Apis mellifera farming. And this is the Korean colony size. In Korea, total about more than 2 million hives we have from Apis mellifera and cerana. And its economic contribution to agriculture is very huge. And so that people now are aware that honeybee is very important, not only for honey production, but also for the pollination service. And we have estimated the economic contribution for the pollination service in Korea. But recently, we have some decrease of population size in Apis mellifera and also Apis cerana. And especially Apis cerana population has been dropped to almost 90%, mainly because of the sac brood virus outbreak. And the detail was described in this chapter in the Asian honeybee. And now we go to hornets. In Korea, we have Vespa velutina nigrosorex from 2003. But before they arrive, we already have 9 species or subspecies of Vespa. So that Korea is very diverse in terms of Vespa hornets. We have Analis, Binghami, Crabro, Ducalis, Dalboski, and Mandarinia, and Similima. And later, recently, velutina came on. So this velutina showed a little different behavioral characteristics as well as the morphological characters. So all knows that velutina has many different subspecies over the southeastern part of Asia. And there are many different subspecies, but what we have is Vespa velutina nigrosorex here. And this nigrosorex, how it comes. So actually in the beginning, we did not know much about how it come into Korea. But we know that by the molecular analysis and haplotype analysis with the French group of Villemans, and we identified that Korean haplotype has shared with the Zhejiang and Jiangsu population of K. And so that we consider this Zhejiang Jiangsu area from the port of Shanghai and moved to Korea in 2003. After then, we had monitored its population distribution. So in the beginning, they were restricted in the southeastern part and then began to spread. And in 10 years and 15 years, it covers most of the country. So that distribution area increase and range expansions. So with this, we actually simulated with the climax modeling with the establishment index, so that actually as temperature change, as climate change goes, its establishment index increase, so that it has more capable of distribution over the country. So we know that the possible distribution range, but we want to go a little more detail. So that also we also had kind of estimated the risk of its invasion into beekeeping economy. So economic threat to beekeeping was accounted about $17 million, partly because of high prey preference, long foraging behavior, and extending foraging season, and large colony population and successful overwintering even in cold Korea. So this is the basic population behavior over the year. and they show somehow similar trend over the year as well as over the place. And also very interesting was that in the beginning was from 2019, most of other Vespa populations, for example, Vespa mandarinia, Tucalis, Crabro, and Similima, they distribute as latitude increase, their distribution density increased, but actually Vespa velutina take another way. So the Vespa velutina is warm adapted species, so that they occupy more warmer place and lower latitude than higher latitude. So that these are some photos we got from the collecting Vespa nest from the tree. And you all know that, you know, Vespa velutina usually have the nest on the top of the tree more than 15 meter high. And also we had a lot of different methods for the collecting individual bees. For example, with different color of trap, shape of trap, lure of trap, and we can collect different hornets. And right side, these are the Vespa mandarinia, and left is Vespa velutina. And you see, this is one-day trap catch in one apiary. So more than 1,500 individuals. So it has a huge economic impact to beekeepers. And so that, for the ongoing management, we try to make effective monitoring, mass trapping, and chemical control. And this is one of the farmers, beekeepers' practice to put the chemical on the body of the hornet and then let them go into their nest and then contaminate the nest. But this is not approved officially yet. But also they use the netting and this kind of proofing, as well as developing hornet alert system. For example, we had studied the wing beat frequency profiling and then find out the wing beat, so that if the wing beat comes, and then we can alert to the beekeepers, then like giving the message board. So there is a hornet alert system. But also we are trying to do nest removal. And as we know that most of the Vespa velutina nest is over the high place. So sometimes it's very dangerous and also very difficult to locate when this is covered by the tree leaves. So this is only can be found from the autumn season. So that instead, we had tried the tagging the insect and then try to track its movement by Yagi antenna and receivers using the student labels. And somehow it has shown some of the possibility to be utilized, but in Korean landscape, very hilly and heterogeneous, this is not quite successful. And now we are trying to track the Vespa hornet as well as the Vespa nest by the drone technology. And this kind of, and another one is the ecological impact. So before invasion and after invasion, if you see that large portion is covered by yellow, means yellow hornet, Vespa velutina. So more in the residential area and city park. And also this is the place where Andong, this is the place where Vespa velutina did not come at the time. No velutina, but where Vespa velutina appears, about 60–70% occupied. So that Vespa velutina is very competitive, and also they are kind of replacing the niche of the local indigenous Vespa hornets. And also there are human health issues. Sorry, human health issues that in the case of 911 call, most of the call from the Vespa velutina. as well as to the farmers in the late season, as the Vespa velutina as well as Vespa are searching for the carbohydrate source, and they also occupy the grape orchard and also apple orchard, and threatening the farmers harvesting. So we know that another invasion into France and Japan, also England, as well as, and very recently we hear that Vespa velutina go to United States in Georgia in 2023 August. So now come to modeling. So we are trying to do the two types of modeling. One is a phenology modeling, and the other one is distribution modeling. So we know that honey Vespa queens overwinter and spring emerge. So as temperatures drop down, reproductive mate, they mate and diapause, and once diapause break, then they go to dormancy, and then emerge as the temperature increase. But we see that in warm spring, they come about 128 trillion days, but in cold spring, they come in 138 trillion days, about 10 days difference. So that we try to model this. So using the early population and peak population and late population occurrence, and also we give the threshold temperature, and we try to estimate the degree day, so that it shows that degree threshold of 8 gives a mean and CV very small. So in early population it's different, but in the middle peak population and late population, it shows the smaller CV. That means probably their developmental threshold is close to 8, and their degree day would around 300 or 300 something. So we want to go more detailed and more sophisticated, so that we use the many data set and try to estimate some important crucial parameters by using two parameter Weibull function. So that we tried to this and found out the developmental threshold was 8 and cumulative degree day was 350. So this is the spring emergence pattern, and this was validated. But another question was that we want to make a distribution map in Korea, and we want to know the distribution factor in Korea, so that we have collected data for about 4 or 5 years from 500 points. These are the points we took the data collection, and then with this collection we make a map, rough map, but we had used the environmental variable of climatic factor and land cover data. With this data, we had multi-correlations, and then we found some variable which correlate much, and these are the variable selection process, and these 4 or 5 variables were selected as the predictors. And the importance was Bio 4, 1, 7, and Forest 12, like this. Bio 4, 1 is annual temperature and seasonality, and this is forest area, grassland, and so on. So that with this variable, we could randomize, and then we could mix into the modeling, distribution model. And this is the output.
Sorry,
so
you have to finish your presentation.
Yes, I'm finishing, sorry. And this is the density map, and this is the probability projection. And also we had calculated the beekeeping risk index, so that beekeepers can be alerted from this system. So they're concluding, so that we found some important environmental factors, and this will be further extrapolated into the global distribution modeling. And thank you very much. Yes. Sorry, did I go too fast? Yeah.
One question. We have time for one question.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you. That was quite a lot to take in, but obviously there's a lot of work. Just a clarification of the slide on the ecological impact and post-arrival velutina. It looks as though the percentages of ecological impact is switched drastically after the arrival. I was just wondering what the dynamic is where the percentage of ecological impact is actually double, tripled, and so on, or has velutina suppressed some of the negative impacts that the other Vespa species had?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last part of your question? Yeah.
I was just wondering on the ecological impact, do you find that the velutina suppressed some of the amount of negative impact that the other Vespa species had, or has it just increased in absolute values?
I'm very sorry but if I understand your question correctly, then how did the local indigenous Vespa community respond to the invasion of the Vespa velutina? And if that is the question, then actually there are two species which has been affected very much and its distribution range and population size decreased. That was Vespa similima, and it decreased very high. And also second one is Vespa analis, also population size decreased. But Vespa mandarinia, they did not show any big difference. So we consider that Vespa velutina niche is more close to the Vespa similima and maybe with Vespa analis.
You might think that it's time for lunch, but actually I have a sort of little surprise. There's another short talk from the States. So tonight they told me that they're available to tell us what's going on with velutina in the States. So please stay there. So we have Natasha Garcia Anderson from the Association of Apiary Inspectors of America. And she's going to tell us something about the invasion, or the beginning of invasion, maybe, we hope not, in the States. We should see your screen now. Yes, perfect.
Okay, can everyone see it just fine? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm Natasha Garcia Anderson, and I'm from the Apiary Inspectors of America. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick update of what's going on in the States. This is all public information. I don't really have anything new and exciting to share, but I'm just going to give you all an update. So just to let you all know, like some of you have discussed, it was discovered here in 2023. In early August, a beekeeper reported some hornets to the Georgia Department of Agriculture. Also around the same time, a beekeeper at the Savannah Bee Company noticed unusual hornets and reported it onto iNaturalist, which is an app that people have on their phone where you can identify, snap pictures and have people identify them. This was confirmed August 9th in 2023 by the USDA and the University of Georgia. And then about August 15th, a homeowner near the Savannah Bee Company reports a nest 23 meters high up in a pine tree. So by August 23rd, they were able to remove that tree with the help of a tree surgeon because it was really high up and it was a pretty good sized nest. So just some background information. So this is the original report that was in iNaturalist. And as you can see, I'll go to the next screen. It was reported on Wilmington Island, which is very close to the Port of Savannah. Not super close, but close enough. Basically, all ships have to come down through the river. And you'll also notice that across the river is South Carolina. So if you're not familiar with Georgia, Savannah is right on the coast of the Atlantic. It is also the fourth busiest port in the U.S., and it brings in more containers than any other place in the country. So as of that, So these are the other spots that have been reported since then: Wilmington Island, Whitehead Island, and also Thunderbolt. So they've all been around this island, from the port of Savannah to the first sighting, and also where the first nest was found was 20 kilometers. Could everyone see? Okay. So since then, Georgia Department of Agriculture has put out 134 traps. South Carolina Department of Ag has also put out numerous traps all along the border. Both states have reporting sites. So far, Georgia had 13 confirmed locations. And like I said, they're all in that pattern right there. Many states are doing monitoring. A lot of AIA member states have traps set up as part of a non-native WASP survey. And then on September 23rd, September of 2023, the second nest was found under a bridge and eradicated. That nest was also found on the same island as the first nest. So these are some of the online reporting forms where citizens, if they see something, they can go in and report it. It's pretty detailed. It will ask you, like, what did you see? Give you some example pictures. So it's pretty good trying to weed out some of the noise, because as you all know, when something like this gets reported, a lot of people start reporting things that aren't even close to what you're looking for. So this has kind of helped a bit. And that is about it. That's all I have. If you want more information on this, you can go to our website, apiaryinspectors.org, and on there we have a whole section on the yellow-legged hornet, and you can click and get links to all the different reporting forms and also information out of the states of Georgia and South Carolina. But so far, we do not know that it has spread from those locations, and we're hoping that we'll get something similar to what happened in Washington State on the opposite end of the country with a northern giant hornet, where it was contained and they were able to continually eradicate nest. So that's kind of an update of where we are.
Okay. Are you doing genetic tests to see the origin of this hornet in your place?
Yeah, so there was a genetic test, that's what I forgot to mention, that was done, and it was discovered that they were actually from Asia. So that's what I was talking about, where that port is highly suspect, since they weren't from Europe. Well, they could have been from Europe too on the container ship, but with it coming in all those container ships, a little worrisome, because those container ships, they empty the containers, a lot of them go onto the railroad and then across the US, and then also onto trucks that are dispersed all over the country. So I think main thing we have to work on is just vigilance and keeping our eyes out for them, because the ability for them to spread is very high. I see in the thing, how many sightings have reported since the second nest removed? I'm not sure on that. There might be more information on the Georgia Department of Ag website, but that was about all I could find was that information.